wants to jump up here, I'm not sure if Shane has something in mind to talk about, but he just opened the space. We just got out of Chase's space. See a lot of the same names, so. Yeah.
I can still hear you guys and stuff. It's just my headset's not going, so give me a sec, see if I can fix it.
No worries. That was a really cool space, I thought, with Buddy from Alien Protocol, I think it was. We were talking about remote viewing and like astral travel, and just seems to line up with a lot of the things. Like, it was good information. I thought it was like very legitimate, good information. You know. If anyone wants to hop up as a speaker, just go ahead and request. Because I think Old Vet is kind of just doing his thing right now.
Actually, no, I should be. Hold on one second. All right, now let me go outside. I got it fixed now. No, actually, I kind of made the space. I want to talk experiences. Also, we're going to talk. I don't know if you guys saw the. I was getting ready to do a tweet, if anybody else can, but that Jim Simony Van episode of Calling All Beans when he was on there. Did anybody else get to catch that?
I listened to it.
No, I missed that.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
You're okay, Ben.
Oh, I was just listening to it. I missed Chase's space because I was listening to that. It was
that's you guys probably would have had more people in there if that wasn't going on. It had Ramirez and Simony Van in it.
Dude, when John Ramirez showed up, I was like, "Get the fuck out of here, dude! I haven't heard from that guy in months." I love listening to John Ramirez. That dude, he's just awesome. Sorry.
No, he don't.
Do you want to?
Sorry, dude.
I didn't see it. Do you want to like talk about what?
Go ahead,
what
Lucia.
cool
I'll take it
points
over.
came
I'm
up,
going to post it.
I don't know.
I'll post it. Hey, Lexi.
Yo.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, Peanut. You said you just watched it, right? Like, what was one of the cool points that they were just talking about?
Well, I liked. Well, they were talking about at the end, Havana syndrome. Syndrome. God, I can't even talk right now. Hold on. I've been driving for like 10 hours. I'm gonna just step off the mic because I'm gonna sound dumb.
No worries. Astral, what do you think about that space we were just in?
No, it was good, dude. I think getting somebody's perspective who has been, I guess, remote viewing for, like 10, 15 years and has a bunch of experiences. It's always good to get those and people who have actually done the science behind it. So I think he had a lot of knowledge. His YouTube channel is funny though, because it's just raw, dude. Like, he's not even trying to produce anything. He's just like recording straight off the bat, though. I think that's funny.
I think that has to do a lot with the whole remote viewing like things, right? Like, if you try to glorify your remote in any way, he was talking about that. Like, he doesn't want to even like like use other names to help bring him up or anything. Like, kind of like very, very humble, you could say. And so, like,
and I think like the remote viewing thing is like of all of the like psychic stuff, like when you go on Facebook and like these remote viewing group, they don't really like remote viewers who have been involved in the Stargate program or like are teaching remote viewing. They don't really interact a lot with Twitter, but on Facebook, they're really active. And so they take this shit like super fucking serious, bro. Like if you go in there and start talking about like out of body experiences, saying it's remote viewing, like you'll get destroyed in there. Motherfuckers will like cut your throat off. But these guys are so serious because it's like it's more than like a psychic phenomenon. It's like a way to study it stringently, but there's different methods to do it. Like Alien Protocol was explaining his method of like using out of body experiences in like a precognitive way, but like there's also like very ways of testing it that I think are interesting too.
I thought Chase was going to hit him with the orange-gray remote viewing question.
Right on.
What is that?
That was I thought that did come up, didn't it? Or was that in the space earlier? They were talking about like Linda Moulton Howe, I guess. See, that's right. I don't know. I don't even want to talk about names. but like apparently she was given. I don't. So someone remote viewed it and then showed her the picture, and she somewhat confirmed it or something like the screen name. Do you know?
So basically, she had this picture of an orange gray, and Buddy remote viewed it and said it was indeed a real orange gray, blah blah blah. And somebody recognized the picture as this girl's like body that was donated for autopsy or something like that, and it was just a regular person.
Well, remote viewing a picture isn't. I mean, it's impressive if you can remote view a picture. But what the people were remote viewing in the Stargate program were like the fucking dark side of the moon, bro. Like they were given
Are you talking about
locations and like
Ego
coordinates
Swan's book?
that were like crazy shit.
Yeah,
Actually,
Ingo was the man.
dude, Jim Simmons starts talking about that in that interview. I posted it in the thread today. He just starts talking about that. And he was referencing when he did a remote viewing of Dark Side of the Moon, and he found the base with the Greys there. And then the Greys saw him. He says, they know I'm here. And then Axelrod tells him, get back here now. And he's like, they know I'm here. Axelrod says again, get back here now. And he's just gone.
I've heard people say that when that type of thing happens, that they'll follow you, like, "Hey, who is that looking in on me?" And they'll come to your house and stuff.
Yeah, Egos One said that the gist, books anyway, he acted like Axelrod already knew that they have psi abilities and they're monitoring and they know what we're up to, and he didn't act like they were friendly either. The ones on the dark side of the moon.
No,
That's
100%. And you read about like people who have out of body experiences and they travel to some like location, and then the people that are at the location like recognize that they're there, and they're like, "Oh shit! Like, how the fuck do they know I'm here? I'm out of body." So it is crazy to like think about.
Third Eye Spies. It's on a couple different the streaming services. If you should check it out, I know some of you have. Dude, there's a spot in there they talk about who's the other famous remote viewer, the one that's anyway. He
Pat
basically
Price,
no, not him. It's one more. I want to say that he's also a foreign national, but he's an American. But anyway, they have him draw something up. He draws it up.
Uri Geller.
Yes. No, not Yuri. I'll get to it in a second. Anyway, they have him draw it up, and he gives it to, I want to say, Hal Puthoff, and Hal Puthoff, and then they ended up running up the chain, and it's some super secret, like double top secret place that no one knows about, and he's drawing like there's 4 different places to put actual folders. He drew the 4 spots to do it, and he drew the names of the folders that they needed to check. It was some super secret location, and it freaked
Oh,
everybody
dude,
out.
we were talking about just in the last spaces about the McMonagle, and Joe McMonagle was remote viewer number 1. He was like the first. He was like the first person who was recruited for the Stargate program. And so what he, like his notorious remote view, and this is straight from him explaining it, is he remote viewed a submarine that was like a mile inland, right? Like he described a submarine, and he went to like the person who's in charge or like his superior, and he's like, "Look, I know this might seem weird, but there's a submarine and they're building it a mile inland." And his superior's like, "That's bullshit." And he's like, "Okay, whatever." And so he started bringing this stuff up, but they doubted him, and then they found out that like they were building a submarine inland a mile, and it was just crazy.
Did today in that interview, Forbes, Steph, I believe, brought up Forbes, and he's basically like, I'm gonna paraphrase here. He's like, you see orbs, you need to go inside the house. They're dangerous. And I'm all thinking, what the fuck have I been doing? I've been sitting out here chasing them down trying to record them. Can you hear me?
Too. Sorry about that. I had to just chime in. I missed that, and so you're going to have to tell me more about it, Shane.
Okay, now can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, man.
Okay, somebody said, uh-oh, so I don't know how much I got cut off.
Oh, good. I think she wanted you to go into detail about your orb experiences.
Oh, okay. So anyway, I post a lot of the videos and stuff. Like I record them. I don't know any better, but he was talking about when he said that, all I could think is, oh, that kind of sucks. That I talked to Mike, and Mike's like, well, how do you feel? I'm like, well, I'm not scared, and I haven't been probed too much, I suppose.
Bro, I told you about the radiation and like what happened with my mom. So yeah, be super careful around orbs.
Yeah, and see, that's one of the things that I've always wondered too. But see, that's a good point. Today, I even asked we were in a space before it went all crazy. Someone in there was actually having a meeting with Senator Gillibrand, and they had asked for different things they wanted to take to her. And so I brought up, I said, as someone who relies on the VA and someone who's an experiencer and someone who's experienced being laughed out of the VA, I said, that shit needs to be in the bill. This is government stuff, man. So many veteran experiencers that they have nowhere else to go with it, right? And if it's part of the government, you need to make them take notice. And it's funny because, like you just said, you mentioned the radiation. There's so much data out there now. I'm going to throw my opinion in on this right now, and interrupt me, and please jump in, guys. And I want to hear other opinions. I don't think it's a nefarious thing when we're hurting. Somebody else made a comment the other day. Oh, it was Eric Moose. So much in line with what we talk about. Like, I think biologically we're the same, but we're different. So in order for some of us to have experiences, or what do you want to call it, ride the woo train, they have to probe us in different ways with different things. Some people get affected, because maybe you can't get in to our brains the same way, right? Like, let's say I got PTSD, or someone else has ADHD, or their chemicals are off slightly. So there may be different variations. It may be a matter of they don't realize the damage they're doing. That's just my opinion. I do know they'll shoot down aircraft if you shoot at them. So I know they ain't neutral.
What about like if they're plasma balls or plasmoids? Like, I think that we don't know that much. I mean, plasma has its own branch of physics. Like it could be that, and it could be doing something for sure biologically. But what if it's not? There's just so many variables. But I would point that out. Like, ball lightning's weird for sure. Even plasmas, all that kind of stuff. I've seen weird like little orbs too, like inside. So are those things like radiating? You know what I'm saying? Like, what's the cutoff? Does it matter if they're big? Does it matter if they're small? Like, what are we talking here?
I would think all of it because it's ionized gases, That dude, Patrick Jackson, I'm fascinated with his study on the orbs, the spheres, metal spheres and stuff. And he had mentioned about microwaves and the orbs that I have on video and a lot of other people that have the Ring camera. It does have this microwave chip in there. So it could just be those frequencies getting ionized or whatever.
Just to go off what Mind was kind of saying too, real quick, like just in general, light falls off by the R squared rule. So like if you're twice as far away, it's 4 times less effective, kind of like just the way that light spreads, unless it's like a directed radiation type thing. That's different.
Yeah,
right?
like Shane's saying that he doesn't have any negative effects, but he's videotaping these things from kind of far away still.
Yeah, it's all about
I'm not
distance
having
and
coffee with
intensity,
these guys.
Hey,
Ben, go ahead, buddy. Peanut.
I just wanted to say how you brought up about Senator Gillibrand about the VA, because I was just saying this earlier that I've never talked to any of my mental health professionals in the military or the VA about the things that I experienced while I was on duty, on shift, like considered service connected kind of situation.
Kind of cutting about it. Is that me or is he cutting out?
I think he might be cutting out.
He's cutting out a little.
No, you don't have to shut up. It's not your bad. We got most of it. It just you cut out at the end, okay, buddy?
Okay, but yeah, if you got what I was saying, I can't imagine being able to talk about it and not being worried about being put on more meds.
That's my point.
That would be really nice.
I agree. Thank you, Ben. You made my point exactly. So essentially, you go in, it's another symptom. They throw you psych eval, more medication. No one's taking it serious enough. Yeah, some people need that, but not everyone's having a breakdown, right? So no, I agree with you.
And everybody should go read that new paper that they just released too, showing that how depression isn't necessarily caused by chemical imbalance. So there's a new scientific paper that just came out a couple weeks ago.
It's caused by marriage. I'm just joking.
Yeah, I was clapping to the one before that. I'm just kidding.
Sure.
This might be something for Luce as well. We have mentioned the connection between trauma and the events. That dude Patrick Jackson also mentioned these spheres run off microwaves and gamma waves. Maybe there's something to do with trauma state in brain and gamma waves. I'm not sure.
So the gamma in the brain is different than like a gamma ray when it comes to the
You
frequencies.
know,
But I
that's
don't
really
know. I don't
interesting you
know.
say that. When I went to, I'm sorry, did I talk over somebody?
Go, buddy. You're fine. Don't say sorry.
When I was in treatment for PTSD, they just like everybody in treatment, they hook your brain up and ask you questions or whatever, and they can tell where your brain waves are, and they said that I live like up in like the fight or flight response, and I always and that's just like where my brain is all the time. So maybe it does have something to do, like maybe if you're
So they
really high
say,
up
did
there,
they say did they say your amygdala? Is that what they mentioned? I mean, that's
No, but that's a crazy point that you make, because for me, and we talk about traumatic experiences, the three most traumatic experiences in my life have resulted in precognitive dreams. And I think that like the only thing I can compare it to is if like you're a little kid and a fucking dog is chasing you, and the only thing that you can think of is like survive, right? And like that's the only thing going through your mind. So it was a heightened state of awareness and like and your emotions. And so I think that does have an effect somehow on these like psi experiences.
Okay, 1 second, guys, before we move on. Do me a favor. Go down that thread, just retweet, like, put some gifts, interact in there, and it just gets more people in here. We can talk experiences. The more people we have, the better. I don't make money. I don't give a shit about that. I just want to have an open forum where we can calmly and rationally discuss this topic and get some answers, right? Dale, go ahead, buddy.
Hey, yeah, just picking up on what you were saying, just to thread the conversation that some can provoke interactions with the phenomena. Beyond that, we should also look at what Gary Nolan said about the overwiring or the overconnection in the brain found with experiences. And it does seem that people who are neurodivergent, now be that or autism or bipolar or schizophrenia, or people who've had shocking events which have left them with, because there's a lot of neuroplasticity in the mind. So trauma and certainly something that you're born with, being born neurodivergent, does seem to predispose people. And my experiences with the phenomena, the orbs primarily, are relatively recent, the past few years. But one thing I've noticed is that they're far more likely to show up when I'm either really happy or when I'm really sad. It seems to be that there does seem to be some sort of an emotional thing that they plug into. Lately, they've been very responsive. I just look up and say, please come, and they just show up. But it does seem at first, when they were just showing up without me asking, that there was always an emotional connection, something about an extreme of emotion which seemed to provoke an encounter.
Hey, Dale, I want to tell you something, and then I'm going to let Kent go. That's exactly what I've repeated over and over. My emotional seems like it has something to do with it. Whether it's a low or a high, the intensity of it almost matches. So, no, I agree, bro. Oh, man, that was good. Kent, go ahead.
Well, I mean, just to add to it, guys, there's quite a common phenomenon that's related to PTSD, and a lot of other, phenomenal events that are profound. Is that people quite often report that afterwards, colors are more colorful, reality is a little bit more. And I just think it's something, when we're looking at the effects of PTSD and how we look at, some people look at the mushrooms for treating it and stuff. I think any type of event, whether it's bad, good, or indifferent, that's sort of beyond the normal, starts to open up that window to us a bit more. And I think that's why a lot of people that are experiencers tend to have much more sort of graphic events. Once they start getting into it and feel it more, and the intensity of it seems to grow as well.
Do you think that it's almost like a compounding effect because it opens your eyes, you see more, because that opens your eyes,
Definitely.
you see more?
Well, I mean, I've been into it for years. After I read, I talk about it often about Chopra synchronicity. But I sort of found that once I started engaging, for want of a better word, with the phenomenon, that you tend to have more experiences, and I found it quite beneficial, very positive for me. I sort of go with it now, and I sort of stopped using the word coincidence. My wife and I joke about the word coincidence now because you just seem to bump into people and meet people and go to places that things just seem to keep happening. And I think the more you go with it, the more it seems to magnify, for want of a better word.
Speaking of, let me run this by you guys. What would you classify this under? I wake this morning, I walk upstairs, there's a can of Old Bay sitting on the thing, and I hadn't seen Old Bay in a minute. Didn't talk, picked it up, looked at it, walked downstairs, turned on my TV and YouTube. There's a recommendation for Old Bay documentary. And it blew my mind. I was like, what the hell's going on? What? Because I hadn't seen anything like that on there before. That's not what I watch, Old Bay documentaries. I didn't talk. I don't have my phone with me. So I'm curious, is that a synchronicity? Or it could be algorithm watching me.
If I could, I know another gentleman had his hand up, but if you don't mind me saying, that is a classic example of it. I mean, it even happens to us in spaces. I was on one space where I was talking about the Titan and the Titanic, about synchronized events in the future. And the girl that was holding the space, that was one of the main speakers, goes, "That's my favorite subject. I know it so well." And we just seem to have that happen so often in spaces. We go, "Oh yeah, I was," and it happened this morning about the dolphins. And then Lush put up that picture of the dolphin as well. I mean, it just seems to happen so often. I just gave up on coincidences, eh?
That
I
dolphin
agree.
picture, I had to share it, man. Like the second I saw that thing, I was like, wow, that's so crazy. I saw something very similar to like that in my dreams. With like I mentioned, I was
You guys share it in so we're not so lost, and then
yeah,
you
yeah.
come back and
I'll
explain
share it
it.
right now, actually.
Astral, go ahead. Okay, share it and come back and explain it.
No,
Astral,
I mean, who knows what the fuck Amazon's working on when they're listening? Like now they're tapping your mind and shit. But no, I one of the things actually, Shane, that I wanted to ask you about, we kind of touched on the discussion in some of the previous spaces, was UFO crash retrieval, right? And like, I'd like to get your thoughts on like UFO crash retrieval. Why aren't there more frequent um, recoveries or documentation of retrievals recently? And do you think that like our ability to possibly shoot down UFOs has anything to do with it?
So just from what I've gathered from listening to the people who are in the know and things like that, I do think we have a way, and well, a way to bring them down. I don't know, but I think it has something to do with the frequency. Also, it could have something to do with, what was it? I just read something last. Oh, the documentary. Ross Coulthurst, the other documentary, not the one about the balls, the other one. He discusses. Someone gives him a napkin and it says light. Somebody correct me. I may be missing light. Oh
Light,
man,
light, frequency, and energy, right?
there
Light,
you go.
sound,
Thank
and
you.
frequency.
So
Tesla.
I think that's a possibility. But if that's true, what I really think, if we do shoot them down, it's because they let us. It's a show. It's all a show. I can't help it. I'm kind of with Jim on the fact that Keel and Cindy, not Cindy Van, but Belay, I listen to a lot of what they say because I often think to myself, these things have got to be fucking with me. You want to hear a prime example of how I think they're fucking with me? Last night I go outside to start a space with Mike and on Mindscape podcast, and sure as shit, there it is. That orb that I should be scared of. While I'm talking to him in the space it's me and him. It's probably recorded. Just explain, oh, there it goes this way. Oh, it just flashed once over here in the sky, you know? And it's almost like here's some of the games they play. I say they, I don't know what the hell it is. It'll disappear. And me and my family, or just usually me, I'll be like, where the hell did it go? And then I'll get one pulse, a flash. So you can see it, it's dark, it's moving, then it's gone again. And then it's gone. And then you find another flash somewhere in a different sky. And it's like, I don't even try to record it anymore because it's such a pain in the ass. And I get frustrated like it's a freaking family member, joking, messing around with me. I think we can take them down, but it's almost one of those things that if they do, there's a reason. Hell, I think part of them crashing, because the thing that's hard to swallow is this far advanced civilization is going to come here and crash and not retrieve anything. It's all part of this interdimensional game. I don't know. What do you think, Astral?
No, it's an interesting point. I just wanted to get your perspective, dude. I'm interested in other people's thoughts too.
Yeah, I don't. It's one of those things. I know for a fact that we've had incidents where we've tried. Well, no, I can't say no for a fact. I've heard we've had incidents where we've tried, and anybody that's tried, they've shot back, and we didn't fare so well. Lush, go ahead. I mean, Lexi, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna the point that you guys were talking about earlier with Deepak Chakra and the book Synchronicity and like events and stuff like that. And how you mentioned earlier, like traumatizations might make it more challenging for them to get into your head, kind of thing. So like the way I've come to see it is that there's like layers essentially, and like distortions are created. It would be a long thing to talk about, but I basically shared a synchronous event for myself called the physics of synchronicity. The whole thing came in one night, like in a very trance-like state, and I ended up finishing at a 12, like a whole bunch of twos and ones, very synchronistic. And then even when I finished in my head, when I finished, I heard in my head, go outside, look up, you'll see the craft. So I step outside and I see 2 shooting stars just shoot off. So the whole thing was like just a huge synchronicity. But sorry about that ramble. I kind of went off there for a second.
Lexi, that means sorry, dude. I love having you in here. Hey, by the way, you need to post. Thanks for posting that in there. I put them in the nest so people can look at it. Make sure you post your YouTube and stuff in there.
And then also, just real quick, I shared that dolphin photo, that alien
it's
that
in the
Buddy
nest.
made. Yeah, that's up there too.
It looks cool. I was looking at that earlier. Who was next on the list?
I'll let Logan go. Logan hasn't joined.
Yeah.
Oh,
Logan.
Well, yeah, Logan hasn't had a say yet, so I can't. No worries.
All right, Logan.
So yeah, have you guys heard about the hidden sphinx? I guess there's like 2
speaking to your mic. Speaking to your mic more, Logan.
I disconnected my Bluetooth. I think it's just my Bluetooth that was fucking up. Can you hear me better?
Yes.
Cool. Oh, hey, Joe.
You hid something in your sphincter? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I said I had 2 of them, and I'm not trying to figure out which one's like an outie and which one's the innie. You know what I mean? No, I'm trying to figure out like, you guys know about the second sphinx? You would know, Mike, right? You know anything about that?
Yeah,
I only just heard about it.
Well, there's like a theory that there's another sphinx, or there was one like that, but they have found like smaller sphinx. They just found one not that long ago. But yeah, they're a lot smaller. I mean, you can go through and look. There is again speculation that there was like another one that size somewhere, but
right next to it.
Yeah, never been found. Nothing, no remnants or anything.
You know what? Because there's that prophecy, right?
That's
like
what they say.
Well, but
It's supposed to be like a mile away, and they found one in Russia too.
But the thing is they found so like you're talking about the Sphinx, like around the base of the Sphinx, all of that debris was used. No, I'm saying all that debris was used to build this temple. So like would there be 2 Sphinx temples then too? Like you would have to.
No, I don't know
look
what
at,
there would be.
No,
I honestly have no idea.
I'm saying like logistically, you would have to cut into the area.
Oh, right, because it's built into the ground, right? Forgot about that.
So, I mean, there's different levels, like layers of shale there. Yeah, I mean, again, it's just, I don't know. There's some people that still think that there is these caves below the Great Pyramid.
Yeah, the Collins Caves.
Yeah, Collins Cave. Actually, we had Andrew Collins on the show not that long ago, and he was telling us the whole story. It's pretty interesting, but yeah, I don't know. I think it's fascinating. I would like to know what's down there. And I know everybody immediately goes to like the conspiracies of, oh, they've already uncovered things and whatever. I don't know, but I mean, I would just say I would like to know what, if any, excavations have gone and have they found,
Yeah.
You can find some videos, and there's a structure right where the second Sphinx is supposed to be, and some parts of it look like it could have been the Sphinx.
Hey guys, hold on one second. Hey Mike, is anybody else having trouble hearing Mike or mind escapes?
No.
Mike? Okay. I just want to make sure.
Mike.
I just wanted to say this real quick. Okay, so they say there's a thing under the Sphinx, right? But they went under the thing there, right? So that either means it was either taken away.
Yeah, supposedly
the Hall of
Records under the paw, but there is voids down there. They have done like acoustic tests. There is voids underneath there, but like, I mean, supposedly according to Zahi Was, there's nothing there. But I don't know.
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
they
Well,
but
and
like
there is
there's the
videotape.
stuff
also
that was like flooded or is
I
flooded
really wish I had
now,
my mute
right?
button. Fuck it.
Are you done with your question, Logan? You got more to it?
Yeah,
Logan.
bro, I'm done.
All right, go
There
ahead.
is a chamber they've just seen, and it's above the King's Chamber, and they said you could fit the Statue of Liberty inside it. And there's no one, as far as I know, there's been no excavation of that chamber yet, but they did find the chamber when they were doing the resonance imaging of the pyramid. And they've also discovered there is another chamber behind Tut's chamber in the Valley of the Kings as well. So, but one of the things I have heard, and again, I have no empirical backup to it, though, is that, for an example, Zahawi or whatever his name is, does not want to.
Zahi Was.
Yeah, that basically he does not want anything to contradict the opinion that it was the Egyptians who built the pyramids. So it has
Well,
been postulated.
he's Egyptian himself, so obviously
Oh, yeah,
there's.
yeah. And basically, just to quickly sort of cap it off, that if they did find something that indicated that there was an external or a pre-existing civilization, I have been told that that was being suppressed because they don't want to lose the belief that it was Egypt that built the pyramids by themselves.
I mean, that's stupid though too, because the Egyptians have their own mythology around that, which would be it's called Zep Tepi, which means the first time, which is the first time for civilization in that area. And yeah, you could say, I mean, John Anthony West dated that back to like 36,000 years ago. I mean, that's kind of old for
I'm
me,
sort of
but
the thing I would ask Mike is okay, let's look at the whole spectrum. Could they have found something in the pyramid or under the pool that indicated that it was an external group that built it?
well, I would say
And if
this
they,
to your point though, Ken. I mean, I'm not opposed to the idea that there was a pre-existing older structure there. I mean, we look at the Greeks, we look at some of these other ancient civilizations, and lots of these ancient civilizations built temples and other megalithic structures on top of pre-existing structures. So to your point, yeah, there could have been something older there, or there's speculation maybe Khufu just threw his graffiti cartouche, in there or something like that. I don't know. I'm not opposed to anything. I'm not dogmatic about it. I'm open to new data. Last year they found a piece of wood. This woman in Scotland found a piece of wood in a box that was from the Great Pyramid that they dated to 1,000 years before it was supposedly built. So what does that mean? Is that is the radiocarbon dating off because there's a range there? Like what's going on with that? I don't know. I'm open to all these ideas, but I don't like when people say they have all the answers. So.
oh no, but I sorry if I could just mention one more quick one, Baalbek, because the biggest Roman temple is built in Iran, sorry, at Baalbek, not in Rome. But the base structure that it was built on with the
But just real
megalithic
quick,
stones.
Baalbek's in Lebanon.
Sorry, yeah, okay, one of those countries, Middle East. But Baalbek is still Baalbek, and what I was saying was the 1,600 ton on base would be more accommodating of a gigantic ship landing on it if it was a landing pad than the base for a structure that didn't get built. It got built on years later after the original structure, that floor structure, was built. That wasn't built by the Romans. That was before.
Are you talking about the pregnant woman stone, that big one that's still in the
Well,
quarry?
the pregnant woman stone is one of the floor stones of that actual structure,
Yeah.
but that's not actually the biggest one. The biggest ones are already set in place, and they're all the floor stones for the temple that's there. But the floor stones are not built by the same society that built the temple. The Romans built the temple on top of those floor stones, but
I
they were
mean, I
there
would
from
point
a
out too,
pre-existing. Yeah.
it does look like the foundation stones of like, the Parthenon and some of those structures in Greece, the older base stones. You know what
Oh,
I'm talking about?
if you have, yeah, if you have a look in Sardinia, Sardinia is another good example. There's a moon pool there, that only sees the direct light of the moon every 18 and a half years. And it's perfectly built. It's 3,000 years old. And yet everything that's built around it looks pathetic compared to it. But there's also 800 of these temples that are built, a
Yeah, by
lot
the
of them with
Naragi.
megalithic stones. Yeah, the Naragi, yeah. And then you see that the civilizations around them, the construction of their homes and their buildings are so basic compared to the megalithic stuff. And yeah, a lot of them are saying that the megalithic stuff was built by a pre-existing civilization, alien or human, whatever it was, and then these other cultures came along, saw that they were special and sacred on top of them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not down with any of the alien building stuff, but in terms of like humans and older civilizations, I can definitely get behind that. And like I said, like foundational building on top of previous foundations or older megalithic structures, totally. I can totally get down with that. So,
I think, but we've had this discuss. The only thing that I have about that previous existence of another civilization is that if we had that tech to be able to do that megalithic work back then, how did we lose it? That's the thing I always come to. How could we
Okay,
lose
final thought
something
on
great?
that, guys. We're going to kind of move on to a different subject so other people can talk. Just a heads up. I
Yeah,
enjoyed the
sorry guys.
conversation. No, don't be sorry, Ken. I'm just trying to move it on. I don't want to do the mute everybody thing. I just want to get everybody moving. So who was up next? It would have been, was it Dale or was it screen name? You had something to say. I don't know if you were Dale. Who was it? Tell you what, have a gif off.
Look, I won't speak long. I stuck my hand up when we were still talking about the how do super advanced alien technology crash. So just really quickly, because I've got to run anyhow. But what I was going to say about that was Patrick Jackson's theory. Now, I'm not endorsing it. I find it fascinating, but he believes that they get taken down by those spheres. That those spheres are a ancient global technology. It's like a defense system. And even Gary Nolan found it compelling. He tweeted about it recently that the fact is, when we're dragging through historical records of Foo Fighters, historical records of old pictures of UFOs, you are seeing that these spheres are very, very often in shot. You will zoom into an old photograph and you'll find that these spheres and the triangulation pattern is quite common. So, look, it does furnish one possible explanation as to why super advanced extraterrestrial craft would be taken down, and that is because another extraterrestrial race has left these advanced technology to take them down as a defense grid. So I was just putting that out there, Patrick's theory as to why they come down.
whenever I hear that name, whenever anybody says Patrick Jackson, for some reason I think of Lord of the Rings. I know that guy's name's Peter Jackson, but every time I hear Patrick Jackson, that's what I think of.
No, but that's a really interesting thought, dude. Seriously, what you just went through. That's the first time I've heard that, and very interesting.
Hey, before screen name goes, I know you're up. Alexi, I know that a couple people here want to know what that drawing of that dolphin is. So after screen name goes, you don't mind explaining that? Go ahead, screen name.
Actually, I was going to say the same exact thing Dale said. I keep harping on that dude's theory because I think it's correct. I mean, even in the name, they call them Foo Fighters, and what is Foo but the Woo? Something that fights the Woo. You know, it just kind of all coincides or makes sense. And about the crashes, that was right when we like increased our radar, started using different radar. And it seems like every time we upgrade our radar, we start seeing these things more and more. And with that being said, Paul Benowitz and the papers that got released from his thing, it mentions Project Aquarius. And it it's basically, if you look it up, we used bistatic and monostatic radar to detect subs, planes, and missiles, and it's working the exact same way that Patrick Jackson claims those balls are working. So
Okay, those balls of steel. Can't. You're up.
Yeah, I was just going to mention one of on that unidentified program, when Lou was talking to the Italians, they were talking about the craft, for want of a better word, uncloaking to fire or uncloaking to interact. And one of the things I found interesting that they mentioned was they said they found the frequency for getting past that. And I think that might be one of the ways that they are finding to defeat the defenses. When I say that, though, I have a deep belief and a deep caution in my heart that I think we should understand what we're firing at before we fire at too much stuff.
Well,
But I
what was
believe
the
that's one of the
frequency?
ways
What
that
was the number? What was the frequency?
I honestly cannot. If you watch the,
What was
if
the
you can get it,
frequency, Kenneth?
I don't know, mate. I'm sorry, I don't know.
Actually, that was actually, so let me explain this. That was a freaking, who sings that song? What's the frequency, Kenneth?
REM.
Thank you. But that was good. You guys are jerks, man. Anyway, the
Oh, I'm
frequency
sorry,
thing,
I
Ken,
didn't know.
no, I just barely caught it. The frequency thing, Ross Kohler talks about in his book In Plain Sight too. And he mentions, what was it he said? They're not allowed to tell for some reason, because if anyone knew this frequency, it wouldn't just be us calling them or doing whatever we do. It'd be the Russians, the Chinese, anything that, this is what we get to remember about disclosure. Any veteran will tell you, anybody's a patriot, that loves their country. Anything your government has out so you can know, your enemy knows. So that's the only, I keep telling people, the government's not going to give us disclosure. You're going to have to do it civilian, do it across the board, because they're going to give you and hell, Jim Simneyvan said the same thing tonight in that episode. So I literally said, they're going to give you the bare minimum and do the best they could keep that whatever country is safe. And he's right. So what do you guys got to say about that?
I would say, though, that we're assuming that the others don't have the same and/or better technology, though.
You're correct. Maybe they've been not non-compartmentalized going at this, head to toe for X amount of time. So, that's a pretty big assumption.
The Japanese have a recorded landing of a craft from, I can't remember how many hundreds ago, where they said that they're being landed. They have a picture of the craft, and it even looks like it has panels and shit on it in this old ancient drawing. And they said that the woman and it was a woman that came out of it, was a teacher and passed on knowledge and blah, 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 blah. If that really happened, then they were into this stuff hundreds of years ago, and they have a 3,000-year-old history.
Dude, here's something that I heard last night in the spaces that I'd love to get the panel's thoughts on. Is that there are agencies right now in like five letter words where they have essentially billions of dollars, and they're ahead of us by like 15 or 20 years in this technology. And that's sort of what we're up against. Like, for example, DARPA. I don't hear anybody talking about fucking DARPA. But think about an organization or an agency that's like 15 years ahead of us in terms of technology that they're working with, and they have billions of dollars to work with. I think that's not acknowledged enough.
That's true.
We discussed something similar this morning in the space with that gentleman, Buddy, and we talked about the corporate side. And I just wanted, sorry to jump in, mate, but I just wanted to mention the one thing that governments and the military have is they have bosses and rules and some degree of oversight, even the black stuff. But corporations don't have that. And they have access to all the same tools, information, and potentials that all the other communities have access to, with hardly any of the oversight or limitations.
So, Kent, hold on. Here's what you're getting at. Let me make sure. Our black projects, or let's say our crashed vehicles that we have, are going to be in public, basically at public-controlled companies, for the simple fact of keeping a secret. They have more they can play with on that, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, well, basically, what you're basically doing is you're taking something that has a potential to be, let's say, something that's reverse engineered. Like I do know of a retrieval, and if the information I have is true, there was definitely an object recovered, and it may even have a link to stealth technology. But if I take that and put it in a private development company, that not a privately owned company, I can keep all of the information within that circle. The people working on it can be easily kept out of the loop as far as what the whole thing is. I mean, I've even built stuff for the military that my guys building it in the workshops had no idea what they were working on. And it was nothing super secret, don't get me wrong, it's just classified stuff. But these guys would not know what they're working on most of the time. And you keep it inside that private company, all the outcomes are yours to decide where you let it go and who gets to know about it.
I agree. Actually, I think that all our crash retrievals were put into the private sector. That's where we got some of our technology. And one of the reasons I say that, and if you don't believe me, look at how we developed the atomic bomb. That's how you keep secrets. You can't keep a secret with the government. It doesn't work that way. So what it is, they move it over to the private sector, right? And you have a panel, kind of like the Majestic 12, a group of players that deal with this on the. Not saying that's true or not. That's up to you guys to think about. So next topic. Hey, did anyone else in here see Jim's Simney Van tonight? Am I the only one? Okay, that won't be the
I wish
topic.
I had. I didn't see it. Is there some way we can get a link to it, mate?
Yeah, I put it in the thread down there, bro. It's actually cool as hell because Ramirez shows up and asks some questions too. John Ramirez.
Oh, wow. That would be an excellent discussion.
Yeah, it was. And he actually gets. Now, if nobody in here knows, I should probably, if some people don't in here know who Jim Simney is, he was a CIA agent. So is John Ramirez. Well, they used to be CIA agents. Well, both of them are experiencers, long-time experiencers. And if you're into the woo, they are woo AF, man. And the conversation, it's woo. And so it was quite enjoyable for me because I'm pretty damn woo with my experience. But some of the stuff they discuss, and I mean, they talked about I think the Blue Lady. They talked about quite a few things that some experiencers across the board have experienced. I know Matthew Roberts, another experiencer veteran, was it from Roosevelt? Is that right? I don't mess that up, man. He's a friend of mine. But anyway, he's Blue Lady. Jim Simney seen the Blue Lady. I know Chris Bledsoe seen the Blue Lady. If you haven't heard about the Bledsoe case, Chris
I
Bledsoe.
think it's is it the white lady? The white lady.
I thought it was the Blue Lady. The white lady.
I've heard
No,
the white.
There is versions.
It's called the Lady.
There is versions of both,
the lady
guys.
in white or something.
They refer to her as the Lady in White.
Okay, I've heard Blue Lady.
It's Hathor, right? Who also is in the ancient Sumerian legends, at least in the Bledsoe case.
No, well, what I thought was interesting was Dorothy Assad talks about the same thing, like the lady in white, and I thought that was interesting too.
No, a lot of people do.
Hathor is an Egyptian. Is in the Egyptian.
Dude, I always
God
get it.
Pantheon.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
No, you're fine. I'm just pointing that
out. Did you guys notice that Semavan? I don't know about you guys, but the first time I heard about, the Lady of Fatima vision for the 3 kids, Semavan was the first guy that I heard who said that the kids themselves didn't describe her as the Mother Mary. They described her as a lady in white with blonde hair and blue eyes.
Yeah,
the first place I ever heard that was with that Semavan interview before.
So 1 second, guys. Where did I hear? I'm almost pot. Where did I hear Blue Lady? I thought I've heard that so many times.
One of the archetypes is a blue lady. That is one of the archetypes.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
About.
They might have been talking about something else. Like all the Shiva characters are blue, right?
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense.
I mean, Pachamama or Mother Earth, people at sea have like ayahuasca experience, paranormal experiences. I know Matthew Roberts' lady that he had an experience with was blue. So there's a lot of blue.
That's where I got Blue Lady. It's Matthew.
It's also interesting honestly. It's also interesting that blue is considered one of the divine colors, and it's also the color we associate with love and loyalty. Just a thought.
Hey guys, I'm out here yelling. I'm out my backyard yelling, "White lady!" I'm just screaming at people looking at me. I didn't think about it.
It's all good, man. You just got to go into like a grocery store and just like walk up, like along like the fresh eggs and milk and just start doing that. Be great.
Are they going to start calling her Karen, the Lady in White?
Hey,
please don't do that to her. Don't do that to her.
So, okay, let me ask you, the panel, anybody in here, you can put it in the thread, actually. If you have a favorite case, put the link in the thread. I'll put it up here and put kind of why, because that's one of the things I always like to see what people relate to as far as like their favorite UAP, UFO, paranormal case and why. Let's see if we can get some kind of interaction if you put it in there. So mine, I always say it, is Ezekiel. Because I'm telling you, man, you
always go so far back in the past. Not like it's a bad thing, but it's like I start thinking so locally, like in time, and then you're like 3,000 years ago.
I know. You know what? Let me change it up. I always use Ezekiel.
Is anybody aware of Terence McKenna's True Hallucinations experience from the book True Hallucinations? where his brother and him go down to South America and Colombia, and they're eating tons of mushrooms, and they have this just wild UFO experience. I recommend looking into it because it involves like shamanism, psychedelics, UFOs. It's pretty crazy. True hallucinations. So.
Dude, I think that the youngest, when I was the younger, like teenager, the case that got me the most interested was fucking Billy Meyer. I don't know why, but it just did.
So, hey guys, right now, since we only got this many speakers, feel free to speak up when you want to speak up. Just let's try to be respectful, not step on each other. And then when we get more speakers, we'll go back to hands. Okay, let's all be adults.
I dropped a case in there. Loring Air Force Base, 1976, I think it is.
Dude, I've been there. I saw a fish festival.
Well, I grew up in northern Maine, so that was like the only event that occurred with the annual fish festival.
Yeah, I saw it festival there in 03. It was pretty crazy, and I did psychedelics there. There was a vibe about that whole place for sure.
Yeah, and it's just the way that if you dig into that story, I mean, it wasn't covered up well. It was reported in the Bangor Daily News. Everybody was interviewed. It's on the record. And people from Maine, northern Maine, they don't lie. They can't. They can't make, they're just incapable of fabricating stories in a coherent way. It's not part of the culture up there. And then the fact that it was multiple visitations and the UFOs went back across the border and in both cases into Canada. Just a lot of interesting factors about that particular case.
Yeah, because that's like right on the border of like New Brunswick, right?
Yeah, and it is. And at that time, it was during the Cold War. So, not that I would know this because it would be classified information, but that is the easternmost land-based Air Force base, right? So pretty likely that there was some nuclear arsenal there at the time.
I put that up in the nest too, by the way, guys. And I also put my second favorite case up there, the one with Indrid Cold. You guys know the story of Indrid Cold, like with Woodrow was it Derenberger?
No, I've never heard that one. Can you go
From
into it a little bit?
Mothman Prophecies.
So basically, they kind of combine those. Those are two really separate things. It happened around the same time. So Indrid Cold was a totally different thing. There's a guy named, I'm just gonna call him Woodrow. His last name will mess me up 1,000 times. Anyway, around the same time this was going on, and if you go to read the book Mothman Prophecies, it's actually kind of a compilation of those different events that are kind of all happening. So this man's driving down the road one day. It's pretty late at night, and as he's driving, he sees these lights up ahead, and it seems like it's in the road. This is the 50s, obviously. So he stops, and the door opens up, and out of the door, this odd, and this is what he calls him, this odd looking man with a Cheshire grin is floating towards his vehicle. So he comes up to him, and his window's still down, and he says his name. He said, and he's like, Woodrow, be not afraid. I'm Indrid Cold, and he says some more nonsensical stuff to him. And he just says, without speaking, but look like a human, just an odd looking human with a really paralyzing look and like a grin. So then he drives off. And if you actually go back and look, he actually wrote a book, and he has a series that he wrote out about, because apparently the experiences continued. Indrid kept coming back. So I haven't read that much into it, but I know the first one's a pretty big tale. If you get a chance, I put that up in the nest and check it out.
Very cool. I just shared one. It's the Rendlesham Forest case. I put that in the comment section.
You want to explain that, bud? That's a good one too.
Man, I'm so bad at explaining it.
I can do it if you don't want.
I'll go straight to what I think's cool about it, I guess, and then maybe you can do like a lot of filler comments. Like, basically, what I think's cool at the very end is that the experiencer ends up writing out a whole bunch of binary code that like says progress of humanity, and then it gives out like geographical locations, like in longitude and latitude, when it's deciphered. But yeah, so like there's definitely events that lead up to it, right?
I'll get you on that part. Here come backfilling for you. So basically, they see something in the forest in Rendlesham, and it's in England, a base over there. RAF shares it with U.S. forces, and so eventually, let me get to the part where a commander comes out.
Peniston and Hassel, or whatever the guy's name is.
Yes, thank you for filling in for the guy that's filling in. Anyway, yeah, these guys end up coming out there. Well, this happens a couple nights in a row. One night they finally get their commander, a colonel, out there. He actually has talked about this multiple times. But the crazy part is, while all this is going on and it's happening, this guy who's just military, so he's always dictating things with a handheld voice recorder. He's got this thing going. He's describing it, and it's eerie because you hear him describing the lights in the sky. Oh, they're coming towards us, and then you can hear the other soldiers yelling at him, "What's going on?" So if you get a chance, you should go, because that's out there too. It's an easy one to follow. You got anything to fill me in on that, Mike?
Yeah, can I pull it back a little bit?
Go.
You did a good job. You did a good job. One thing I would say is that I think you're talking about the Colonel Halt part, like the next day where he went out.
Yeah,
He
I
saw
fast
like
forwarded, bro. I fast
three
forwarded.
star orb looking thing guy. So like the first night I think is the more interesting night with the two guys, Peniston and I forget the other guy's name, Hassel something or Hessel something.
John Burroughs.
John Burroughs, there you go. I'm thinking of somebody else. So John Burroughs and Peniston go out into the woods because they saw something, and they were like stationed. They were like security at the base or whatever. And they saw something crazy land in the woods, so they go check it out. And there's this like triangular black kind of with like a, I don't even know, like three-dimensional triangular shape, not necessarily pyramid, but I don't know. That's what it was described. Anyways, this thing lands. I forget which one, but I think maybe Peniston walks up to it, touches it, has some sort of like loss of time or time dilation experience. Saw like some glyphs on the side of it too. And the other guy, Burroughs, had some sort of like medical stuff happen afterwards, I guess. I don't know if it's recognized now or something, but I know he was.
That was part of the case where
Yeah, it's
the
recognized now.
Burroughs, the guy who he got medically treated eventually, but
Yeah.
his records were classified for 20 years.
John
Yeah,
McCain
so
got involved, so John McCain ended up getting it for him, and now they didn't want to classify it for. You want to tell them why?
well, I was just going to add some other things too. So, like, they went back the next day, that Colonel Halt and everything. They did find like, radiation signatures on the ground. In terms of like people trying to debunk it, people they say that's this like Orfordshire or something lighthouse that's on the coast there, because there's two bases there. There's an American base and there's a British base, and supposedly, I forget which one, but one of them has nuclear weapons or did, maybe during the Cold War.
The American base.
Yeah, the American base. So supposedly, there's this rumor that came out a couple years ago, and I don't think it's true, but there was people saying that the British, like the American people, pulled some crazy prank on the British people, and this was the way that the British people got back at them. But it doesn't make sense. Like how they would have just built some crazy craft like that just to fuck with. Like that just doesn't make any sense. So there's that. And then some people would say it's the lighthouse that's on the coast. They saw these crazy lights. Well, I don't like this show, but there's a show called Expedition on it with this guy Josh Gates, and he went back and he actually put a light back in the lighthouse to try and see how far it could penetrate into the forest, and it didn't even get through like the first couple layers. So there's no way it could have been that lighthouse that would have shined through there. So,
If I could
but
just add, Mike,
yeah, go ahead.
the other thing about that lighthouse, I can't remember which. I don't think it was Josh's show, but there was another show that did the same thing, and the guy said, "Yeah, but hang on a second. There's a shield at the back. It can't shine back there. It only shines out to sea. It's actually got at the back. It's like got a petition at the back of it that it doesn't even shine towards the base." That was shown on one show. I can't remember which one.
Yeah, I believe it. I think so. That whole thing was like whatever they're saying that is easily debunkable about it's not really that easily debunkable.
Right,
So
and then that doesn't even like include the experience when the guy started writing out the binary code on a road trip with his
I was
family,
going to
right?
say, Lush, I don't know if that's questionable to me, but supposedly those two guys are at odds. Burroughs and Peniston, they both like refute each other's claims. The one guy says that guy didn't have that binary thing, and it came later. And then Linda Moulton Howe took that code and had somebody like almost like pareidolia, like they were looking at it, looking for places that it could have been or something like that, as opposed to looking at it like scientifically. So I don't know who.
So questionable on the binary
I don't know who to
part.
believe. I'm just giving you the facts, laying it all out there for everybody. Decide what they want, look into it more, that kind of a thing. So
for sure, there's definitely evidence, and like one of the brain scans that Gary Nolan was talking about in the Tucker Carlson interview, wasn't that one from Rendlesham or no?
He had mostly heart problems, from what I understand. Most of his problems were heart problems.
The when Dr. Gary Nolan went for Carlson show and showed MRI scans and was talking about the brain scans of various patients, wasn't one of those one of the guys that was in the Rendlesham case?
I could have been, mate. I'm not aware of that, but I know that Burroughs himself, I think one of his main issues was heart problems, but he probably had a brain scan as well, for sure.
Gotcha, cool.
If I can jump in real quick, that's also my favorite one. So I had shared a couple of things. I shared the audio clip from the actual time of the events on the first night. You know, we forget there's a whole audio clip. And then also the Fade to Black interview with John Burroughs and Jimmy Church. And basically, in the process of him getting these medical records declassified, he shared that similar to when people see these orbs, it might affect what you like your consciousness in different ways. So even though they claim different things happen, it could be that they both actually happened.
That concept was also covered on the Gary Nolan show when they talked about the people that thought they saw a giant craft, took a photo of it, but then when they went and looked back at the craft, it was just like a Merkaba kind of looking thing.
Yep, I'm going to give Alexi a million different internets for that. I'm telling you now, it's so personal that you could all three people looking at the same thing and see something totally different. Again,
isn't that what we're doing right now? Like we're all looking at source, but we're all experiencing and seeing something completely different. I'm just kind of joking.
No, I get what you're saying, but what I'm saying is like the vast difference in some of the things we see. It's almost like it's a game. They're fucking with us. Hey, let's mess with these three right here. Let's mess with them. What are you gonna be? What the hell? It gets so crazy. Like I don't know if who in here has read Keel's book or Valet. And maybe I'm just a little
yeah, but bro, I was gonna ask you, like, what is that trickster element? Like, what is that to everybody?
So that's the thing, that whole trickster element. It's just a matter of, so instead of being obviously not here to kill us, it's almost like somebody said something earlier about the emotional thing, like the ups and downs and why, right? Well, sometimes it feels like it's science. Now I take that as you're going to see, right? You know, any way you want to take it. So that trickster element is simply doing things purposely to get certain things out of you, the manipulation, the reactions, because people don't realize, and it's I'm under the impression that we are being manipulated, and I think Ken's getting whippings.
If I could just add though, guys, just for you to have some perspective on conscious interpretation of memory. When you do accident investigations, which I've done quite a lot of, you will go and interview 10 people who saw exactly the same event from different perspectives, and you will get literally 10 different stories about what happened. And one of the things you have to do as an investigator is try and wade through the 10 different stories to get a cohesive understanding of what actually happened. So the interpretation of a memory and the interpretation of an event, I actually coined the term reality is as individual as the person experiencing it at the time. It really is that individual.
That was a point I think Lexi was just kind of saying too. So, and I agree with that. But I will say that when I say trickster, Astral, I mean it doesn't mean negative thing, right? Again, you can have something feel negative, but have something totally positive come out of it, right? If it's an overall thing, it's about context. So if we're seeing this thing as one little thing at a time, hold on a sec. I don't think you know his mic was hot. So if we're seeing this as one little thing at a time, it may look like a trickster element, or it may just be an overall manipulation. So I never mean it as a negative thing, right? Because I don't know what it is, and I can't put a spin on it. That's the most important thing.
No, and you say, and you even say Valet. Like Valet to me is one of the most respected researchers, but it feels like he takes a step back and looks at it from like a larger in a bigger point of view, where like the contact experience even through the decades have changed from like flying saucers to orbs to that, and even the more information he gets, the further away from a definition of what this exactly is he gets.
Good point. I want to actually jump off that because what you were just saying, they get so different. I just want to mention one more case. What was the name of the case that's up in the Midwest? You're gonna know this, Mike. The pancakes. You've got to know the space pancakes. When the old man on a farm is the 50s, it was before Roswell. No, so it's before Roswell, and
is it
he's basically
McMinnville or whatever?
no. Basically, he saw a hot air balloon, dude. Some people got out. They basically needed water, and then they made them pancakes, and they left them with them, and the government tested the pancakes.
The Socorro or whatever.
Somebody needs to look that up because I'm up here
I don't
talking
know.
about
That, I
pancakes.
know we were just talking about that in the last space, and
But
we like
that,
basically
We were.
it was like
yeah, that proves my point. Yeah, your
Oh,
point
you're
too.
saying before Roswell?
Yeah, it was before Roswell.
it was
Oh
like
yeah.
It's
they were
like a
sending
breakaway,
these airships.
civilization, and it was humans that were interacting with us.
So yeah, my point being, it's so whimsical and crazy that before we even had hot air balloons, these guys are popping around in hot air balloons, cooking pancakes for us. How
I
batshit
mean that
crazy
we've
is
had
that?
airships since like ancient days, almost. Like just the idea of airships and helium balloons, hot air balloons.
Oh
Like
no, but the
yeah,
idea is different than someone landing on your lawn and cooking you some pancakes, bro.
especially
When
if
no
you
one
landed
even
in
seen
like
one yet.
imagine like you land in a tribal area kind of thing. Like you would look like super advanced
Oh no,
aliens.
I agree with you on that, but that's what I'm trying to tell you. What I'm saying is it could be a breakaway civilization. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is when the experiences are so different and so crazy, and that be an example. I mean, think about it. That's a hot air balloon they're talking about. Then later on it's discs. Then it's freaking, so it could be multiple things. But these guys landed and cooked in
I
pancakes,
mean,
man.
I don't think it's an accident too that it evolves with our consciousness. Like as our consciousness evolves, we're seeing the things that we know are possible, right? So like this could go into like the Jungian symbolism and archetypal stuff because
Yeah,
you
but a
know,
little bit of caution, Mike. A little bit of caution, mate. They were seeing cigar shapes, cross shapes, and very advanced shapes, even back in the hundreds and
yeah,
thousands of years
that's
ago. They have seen quite advanced shapes back then too, mate.
no, I'm not saying it's advanced or not advanced. I'm just saying that if you see a lot of the sightings throughout history, it does reflect the consciousness of the people at the time and what
No,
think.
that's a great point too, because one of the most interesting, I guess you could call it a case, but I mention this a lot, is the book Communion. And Communion has that cover of like the gray alien. But after Communion happens and it's published, people start to have experiences that are directly related to that book. But it doesn't happen before the book Communion comes out. So it's kind of a weird thing.
Yeah, it's like the Terrence McKenna's machine elves thing and people doing DMT. Like people didn't really report seeing machine elves. Report seeing entities and like, beings and things like that. But machine elves is like specific thing that are to come after Terrence McKenna saw these things. Somebody was mentioning tricksters though. I posted in the nest. I don't know if it's up at the top or because I still understand the nest, but we did an episode on the Codex Gigas, which is known as the Devil's Bible. It's not really about the devil. It's one page of a picture of the devil in an actual Bible and alchemical texts. But in that episode, I break down how all of these ancient depictions of entities are like psychedelic entities and trickster entities. There, you have the Heyoka from the Native American cultures. You have, the devil from, whenever the people like anthropomorphize their version of the devil in ancient times. You go throughout history, and I just break it down, and you could see like the cross similarities of this like trickster archetype, and people being fucked with these entities. Now, does that mean that there's nothing there and it's all in our minds? No, I'm not saying that, but I do think it's interesting, and like I'm talking about this reflection of our own consciousness. I think that there's something to it. Again, to Ken's point, yeah, were they seeing advanced stuff? Sure. I'm not saying that they weren't. What I'm saying is, I think we all, even the cigar shapes you see, if you think you're actually seeing this thing the way that it's meant to be seen, or could be seen, I don't buy that. I think that we're assigning like a built-in recognition or symbolism to something like we do everything else. I mean, you can read Donald Hoffman's book, The Case Against Reality. Like we're evolved to perceive things a certain way based on surviving, not necessarily detecting,
I think that's
intelligent
such an
beings.
important point. Like honestly, the whole like evolution process of the human and how science approaches reality. I think that's really important concept.
Let me
Right.
make a point. Screen name, you're up next, but let me make a point real quick. So you got to think about this. As humanity, when if you have scientists, somebody that yearns to discover and do things like that, it may only take them seeing that hot air balloon before you're manipulated into designing that. How did that do that? I need to figure that out, right? So people need to think on the grander scale. Fuck yeah, it's manipulation. I mean, everything they do is a little here and there. It's not like a direct, but just by seeing all interactions, we break left, we break right, and people don't even think that little, right? It kind of blows my mind because ever since I've started having them, I do everything, right? Everything that I think about that way because it's almost like literally every step you take, you can see, oh, it plays back to that. So yeah, just seeing a craft brings us to a new state. So imagine if that craft wasn't there and they never saw it. How much longer would it have taken until we designed this, that? So just
So,
speculation. Go ahead,
Shane,
Just
Screen
what
a,
Name.
you just said is perfect, man. I just want to go off that real quick. It's
Go
called
ahead.
the path of least resistance, right? It's literally like a fluid path of least resistance, and you can compare it to like animals walking in the woods. They'll take like the path without the bushes, right? There's a trail that's created for you to follow, and like the easiest way to think of it is like synchronization. It's your ability to love or not love the path that you're following. It's so hard to describe in short terms, but like I've definitely talked about it a lot. I call it the path of least resistance. You know?
Thank you, Alexi. Did you post a matter of fact? If I wasn't hosting, I'd have your stuff in there already. Make sure you post your YouTube in there. I don't know if you did. I know you posted that video, but Alexi's a friend of mine. And he posts some good content. A matter of fact, if you're woo adjacent, you really enjoy his content because
Right
I'm
on,
telling
right
you,
on.
you know what I'm saying. He's a scientist that deals with woo. Basically, his stuff's all about the woo.
Well, like
So
just real quick, I guess a quick background. Like I do exactly what Mind Escape says. Like talk about the evolution of the human body and how we've evolved to detect certain things, and out of that comes a lot of stuff, and which would be like the path of least resistance is one of those things because we're not evolved to detect it physically, but it exists. You know, it's a thing we need to like look into.
go ahead, Screen Name. You've been waiting, buddy.
Hey, no, I was just going to touch on what Mind Escape and Astral were saying. I think they're right on the money as far as it like changing with like a reflection of people's consciousness. Like if you can't, if especially like, all right, so if you can't speak the same language as somebody, and especially if you're coming from like a higher dimension, you would try to imitate them as much as you can, or send them a message in a form that they can understand. So, like way back in time, they didn't have an understanding like that. So they showed them things like gods and angels. Now today we have an understanding of like aliens and interdimensionals, and now that's what they're showing us. Um, it's a form of communication to me. They're just, like Oscar Wilde says, imitation is the highest form of flattery. They're trying to let you know, they're by mirroring your actions.
Right on.
could I just mention
Go
something?
ahead.
Yeah.
I know you had your hand up. Go ahead, bud.
All right, mate. Yeah, just to Lucia's point about the evolution of consciousness and how we interpret phenomenon. Um, we talked about it a little bit earlier, interactive consciousness. So if you sort of add that concept to that, it could be the fact that as we're creating more intellectual realms to understand what's around us, that is why it's defining it in a more technological or different way, that we're actually having a different understanding of the phenomenon now, actually directly affecting how we see it and perceive it. So I think you're on the mark there. I think I hope one of the things that adds to that though as well is that if more, you hear me a lot talking about positivity. I think if more of us are positive about contact and developing our consciousness, that it can be more of a positive experience and less of that mischievous Loki type malevolent side that we still see remnants of. I think we can sort of keep that out the way by being a bit more positive and trying to understand it from a helpful side, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
I do know what you mean. Let me explain this.
I've been quiet, but can I just take a second? That
You go ahead, brother.
I gotta just stick up for Loki, man. Like my boy's getting dragged, a little bit. So my experience with the trickster element is a little different. I got kind of hit over the head with the phenomena all at once, and to me, for the unprepared, it's a battlefield. You're entering this new realm where you don't really know anyone and nobody really likes you. And, you know, like for me, it was a battle, right? And like, I don't have issues with the phenomena now. I don't have those same challenges in sorting through those different forces. But I think that it is an individual experience on one level, but it's also a collective experience on another. Like, yes, we speak about, the evolution of our understanding, but there's still some things that are constant. Like the old doesn't go away just because we make new.
If I can jump in,
Can I just
to
jump in
that
really
point.
quick and just ask
Oh,
one
of
thing?
course.
Are you secretly Mark Maron?
I don't know who that is.
He's a comedian, but you have the exact same voice as this guy, like for real.
I'm not secretly Mark Maron.
Kent, go ahead.
I sort of lost my train of thought
All right,
then
here.
because he
Let me
sent me on the Mark Maron.
All right, let me add this. When I say so, you actually can't. You made a point. So I'm going to expand on this. You said that if we had a more positive out view. Actually, Mike and I talk about this all the time too. How I approach it. I got some pretty good vibes now. It wasn't always that way, but I will say this. As it was happening, really at first, it was negative. I would have told you that from the get go. But I can look back from now and see, like, oh man, that's how I say, like, dude, something can be negative and positive as fuck, right? So it
I
may be
couldn't agree
hard.
with you more.
So it was just my attitude. So I didn't know what it was. And once I started hanging out here, talking to people, doing this stuff and figuring out what's going on, meeting people, so.
Well, I mean, if you don't mind me adding to that, mate, I mean, my personal journey, for want of a better word, I've done a lot of experimentation through meditation, and I haven't tried the shrooms yet. I tried to get some back in Perth, but I couldn't get any. But I will maybe try them one day. But
You're
I
in
just wanted
Thailand,
to.
right?
Yeah, but yeah, here if you if you
Isn't
do
there?
the wrong
What
thing
about
here,
Phuket Island?
yeah, but I live up in rural Thailand. But yeah, I'll get there
Okay.
one day. Don't worry, I will
That
get
movie,
there
The
one day.
Beach, I think they eat some mushrooms. I don't know if that's a
Yeah, they
true.
do. But
Yeah.
if you get caught, yeah, it costs you about 10,000 baht to not get in a lot of trouble. So
Did you just
yeah,
say
I
bot?
avoid
You
that.
talking about Thailand? Oh
But
man,
yeah,
I miss Thailand.
I love Thailand. I live here. I'm very lucky, mate. I live here in
Oh, you're an
Thailand.
expat?
Yeah. I'm married to a Thai lady. We've been together 14 years. I've got 5 puppies. I live 500 kilometers from Bangkok in
Oh, I
quite a
may or
nice
may
little
not have
place. Yeah.
I may or may not have been to Patty a couple times.
Yeah, I bet you have. You're an ex-serviceman. So, yeah, I used to hang out with a few of the boys there. And one friggin' SAS doctor tried to get me to sleep with a lady boy, and I'll never forgive him for that.
Oh, that's so funny, dude. I can't. To my co-host, real quick, man. I can't.
All right, yeah. So just to go off of the whole like trickster element and like what Kent was talking about. So like we can like by changing our postures is what I like to say, like the thoughts we project and the types of um, um just in general vibrational state you have, you basically make different distortions within this fluid, and that kind of like is what determines the habitats that exist within your person to begin with. And so like by changing your postures, you can rid yourself of, in quotes, trickster type beings. I talk about that in the physics of love, and like
If
how
I could mention though, Alex, just if I could quick mention on that though, I was sort of got sidetracked, but to get back on track, when I was doing some of my thought experiments, there was some. I mean, I'm sort of very confident mentally and physically, but mate, some of the things that happened, I would say, were on the verge of scary, but definitely I felt like I was at the limit of my control, if you know what I mean. And that was sort of the one part of it that I thought, yeah, okay, there does seem to be a negative side that you have to be very wary of. And since then, I sort of make a joke of it now because it seems to have become part of my life. I mean, I have some of the most mental, weird, friggin' just normal everyday, non-normal everyday things happen that I just sort of live with it now, and it's surprising, mate. It does seem to be there, but I think if you're aware of it and if you're mentally prepared, you can sort of keep it at bay. But I think it's definitely there.
Okay, we're
Yeah,
quick,
I
guys.
think it's definitely there. Go ahead.
I'll let
Yeah.
you keep. I'll let you keep going. I just want to take a commercial break. Okay, guys, if you get a chance, go in that thread, post some stuff that you want to talk about, or if you don't feel like speaking, just definitely like it, retweet it. It gets the algorithm, these people up here. That's all we ask, man. And, you know, you can keep here listening to us talk. You got Mike Escape. You can go to his YouTube. I posted in the thread. Lefty in the thread. Follow all these panel members. We're always holding spaces or talking. There's a little bell you can hit anytime you want to come in here and just listen to us talk about UAPs, paranormal, and stuff. And Lexi, you can go ahead.
Right on. Thank you for that nice commercial break. I'd also like to say to make sure to no, I'm really bad at that whole thing. So, but basically all I was getting at is that we create habitats with the postures we hold, and based off of the postures is like what type of beings you'll probably encounter. And it is very woo, it is all that, but I mentioned earlier the book The Physics of Love. It's in there. That's also in the thread. So if you want to actually like look more into what I'm talking about, it's all there. But like if you are dealing with the trickster, you can potentially cleanse it by like connecting with bigger flows of space, like the sun, and really getting in tune with your circadian rhythm. Just what I've come to see out of it. I don't know if anyone knows any more or has any thoughts on that.
Well, I was just going to, sorry, and I talk too much, but I was just going to add that's one of the things I do. I'm lucky I live up here away from cities. And when I feel down or if I feel things have been negative, I'll go down the waterfall or go into the farm and have a look at them, just sit and meditate in the farm or at the jungle. And I find that really builds your energy up really quickly.
I was gonna mention, Ken. I don't know if you're a mushroom picker or interested, but I know that there is some psychedelic mushroom species that grow. I don't know. Do you live anywhere near like sugarcane or sugarcane fields?
I have about 10 acres of sugarcane. I've got about 5 acres of rice. And my wife, her favourite occupation when it's mushroom season is going and picking wild mushrooms. If you've got
So
some photos of the right kind, because they're very worried about picking the wrong kind, that
yeah,
it's
you
going
got
to
to be
make you really
well.
sick.
That's just it. You
What's
got
the
to be careful.
legality
But
there,
there
Ken?
is.
Because Joey,
I mean, well, if you
they'll
pick it
murder
in
you
the
for that. I'm
jungle
pretty sure.
and yeah, no, I mean, if you pick it in the jungle, it's natural, mate. So you
I
can't
know.
get in trouble for natural
No,
stuff.
that's why I asked. The
I
only
think
reason I asked that is
I
because
think
you could
in
go on the.
Mexico, in South America, there's psilocybe surescent or cruescens. I forget how you pronounce it, but they grow in like the sugar cane, like the piles of like excess shit or whatever,
What about
compost.
the
But the discard stuff, it goes on that.
Mike? What are those things called? The truffles. What about the truffles?
That's in Amsterdam you can get those.
Yeah, but
They're
I'm
bloody
saying
expensive. They are the most expensive mushroom in the world, truffles.
yeah.
not those
Well,
truffles.
these
These
are
are
these
different.
are psilocybin
Yeah,
truffles
these
that you
are
can buy.
psychedelic truffles, brah.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds even more expensive.
Well, here's the thing. The reason I brought that up, what the legality was there, because you can go online, you can order it in Europe. Actually, if you're within this area, the shipping's through this
Oh,
service, and so. But if
yeah,
you're in
no,
that country,
yeah,
I wouldn't
nothing
do
like
that
that,
shit.
mate.
They'll hang you up
Yeah,
like.
no, here, you, if you get anything here that's of a herbal nature or anything like that, you have to do it through the local infrastructure. You can't bring anything in. You'd be in big trouble.
But
What
I'll look
about?
into it more in your area, Ken. I'll let you know if I see any like trip reports or
Would
people
appreciate it. Well,
talking
But
see,
about
what?
it.
for me, anything that's I've never touched hard drugs. I've 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 been offered it often, but I've never touched hard drugs. I've smoked, and I do smoke ADHD. I don't take Dex. I actually have a couple of cones instead. But I've tried mushrooms once, but the ones that I bought must have been crappy or whatever. They just did nothing for me. So yeah, I'd like to try it because I see the experiments they're doing with PTSD vets and people with trauma injuries, and it's helping them. So I'd like to try it because it might help me open up my mind a bit more and see a bit more than what I see now.
I think
Hey,
I think given your nature, as long as you're confident, like you said, in your own mental stuff and you understand your own mind and you're not on the verge of any sort of psychotic break or anything like that, you should be okay. But yeah,
Well, yeah, I mean, there are times when I'm fearful of my wife, but that's just purely a physical thing.
hey, Mike, I got a question. So,
what's up?
well, so you know a lot more about this. So, actually, you made a point, Kent. Microdosing psychedelics, one of the best thing I ever did for my PTSD. I use those truffles. But what I was going to say is microcilium doesn't have anything that's illegal here, and that's usually how people grow their own. So you may want to look into the laws on microcilium. That's just like if you went and ordered some mushrooms to grow to eat, right? That there's really not much difference. Do you think
Yeah,
that'd be easy, Mike?
so I mean, to grow your own, that's what most people recommend, obviously, because you can get the spores like legally and stuff. Like you said, it's not illegal to buy the spores and stuff like that. But yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
I'm going to look into it for
it
sure.
just
I'm going to look
depends.
into how I can
But yeah,
get
I
it.
mean,
Yeah.
like I said, Ken, I'll let you know if because you know, like I said, I don't know if sugarcane differs in terms of like, you know, what grows off of it or whatever. I know, like I said, in Mexico and South America, the sugarcane there, they do have psilocybe mushrooms that grow off of them that are, you know, very potent.
We do
So
get mushrooms that grow in the sugar cane here, but one thing we have to be a bit careful about here is, are they the right kind? So that's why I sort of mentioned about pictures and stuff. They do
yeah,
grow.
do you have like a new iPhone?
Yeah. I've got I think
Because
it's a
I think there is a mushroom and plant identifier app now
Oh,
that's
yeah.
somewhat
That's a good idea.
accurate. So,
So look for microcilium mushrooms. Yeah.
well, like I
But
said, I'll look into it more. I'll send you a message.
hey, can I
Oh,
make a
cheers,
point on
mate.
that though? That app thing, just so you know, as a person who loves his minerals and rock and stuff like that, I got apps that I paid money for that you can do the same thing with rocks, but it doesn't always get it right, brother. Just a heads up, man. You know, you don't want to eat something that's gonna kick your ass.
Yeah,
Or
no, I think I had a plant one for a little bit, but it was stupid. Yeah, but I mean, when you're in the woods, you know, I I know what poison ivy looks like, which I'm super allergic to. I mean, I know everybody has a reaction, but I feel like I break out way more than others. Um, But yeah, you know, you got to be careful with anything technology wise like that. You know, make sure you
Oh,
know
the
you're.
good thing is that the local people here know the ones that are poisonous. So yeah, it's quite easy to avoid the poisonous ones. It's more to try and find ones that have got extra properties. That yeah, but I'll look into it. I mean, maybe even my father-in-law knows, and I just haven't asked him yet because he's into all the herbal remedies and stuff. If I've got a bad neck or a bad back or stuff, he'll get all the herbs and make hot things and put them on your back and stuff. It's great. He's good at that.
No, I've always been interested if something can induce an out of body experience, whether it be fucking herbal or something else.
hell, I signed up for I think it's before it's a Heroic Hearts Project. They take PTSD vets down to South America for ayahuasca. So hopefully I get into that too. Shit, I got worried. I getting worried now. I keep hearing people that done it talk about the 4 days, how great, you know. I'm like, oh, I don't know, man.
Sometimes when I drink too much alcohol, I have a multi-body experience.
What is that?
I don't ever want to do
Yeah, but that's
ayahuasca.
He's got the
we used
two
to just
body
call that a
problem.
threesome, didn't we?
He's got that two body problem.
Dare to dream, Kent.
You gotta live the dream, my friend, especially when you're single.
Well, I've heard
Can
the
I just
problem
say,
of duality, like of having an out of body experience, but still being aware of your physical body.
really? That's pretty trippy.
I tried it once. I targeted a place during the day when I was down at the jetty with my family, the kids and Mrs. Old one, not the one I'm with now. And I said, okay, tonight when I go to bed, I'm gonna meditate and I'm gonna try and bring myself here tonight. So I sort of tried the whole Zen thing and center and energy and shit. Funnily enough, when I tried it that night, I didn't end up at Palm Beach Jetty, but I ended up at Rockingham Jetty, which is like a kilometre further down in the car park. And okay, and the experience was that there seemed to be other people standing around, and funnily enough, after a few seconds, they sort of like drifted up vertically. They like took off and went up into the whatever. And then I ended up waking up back in my body. But that's the closest I think I've personally come to, for want of a better word, an out of body, directed out of body experience.
Anything else, Astral? You had one, haven't you?
Well, I just wanted to speak
One
on
of
that.
the
Oh,
one
go
of
ahead,
the
Astral.
oh sorry, and I've had probably a handful of actual astral projections where I've intended to have an out of body experience. But I think one of the interesting things is my sister called me, and just a bunch of synchronicities happen around this type of stuff. But my sister called me last week, and she described a sleep paralysis that she had, where she was like, she had never experienced anything, any sort of spiritual experience, but she said, I woke up and I was frightened, and it seemed like this dark figure was like pressing on my chest, which is exactly the sleep paralysis. And then she described of like the only thing that kept her comfort was like her dog, right? And then she woke up and her dog was asleep. But I find it interesting is like other conscious animals, or other conscious beings are very aware of this sort of state, like this dream state that we have access to, that sort of is like near death experience, out of body experience, lucid dream experience. Like all of these to me sort of tie together in the state that it's in.
Alexi, go ahead, man.
Yeah, we were kind of talking about something I like to touch on called like bilocating, I guess, where you exist somewhere and you're physically able to do everything, but this time fully aware of another place. And like, one thing I've noticed, like an easy trick, I guess you could to start doing it, is to have, if you were in that space, that last space with Buddy, you would know exactly what I'm talking about. To have a cohesive flow with a group, right? So now, like that group is now part of your vortex of information. When those people leave your group, you still have access to their information until that vortex kind of out. So it's like you're able to connect with people while they leave. Like so you can basically like send half your conscious experience with the person as they leave, and you'll be able to retain that. Meanwhile, retaining your position as well. That's like a little trick I've been doing. I think it's pretty cool. Kind of relates to all
Can
that.
you explain that just a little bit more? I like what
Well,
you're saying.
well, like Buddy was talking about the concept of basically like cohesive groups. So like when a group gets in a flow and everyone's like working together and it's really harmonious, they're able to affect things psychically better. And the way I see it is, it's because we're all being created by scaled waveforms. And so we basically create one giant vortex versus individual vortexes for our individual bodies. It all combines into one big one. And so, like, one way to think of it is instead of breaking away from that big vortex, live in that big vortex, and it can split off with those people as they travel as well. So you can maintain connection psychically with every single person you've ever met doing that.
I'll jump in too.
Wow.
I
Go ahead, Ken.
yeah. I mean, I said it to my wife today after that first one, and I'm feeling the same thing on this one. When you have these good spaces where people are just flowing and talking and enjoying his opinions and the different things we talk about, I feel positively generated from it. I said to her, it was really, really nice. The first thing I said to her after the space this morning, and I said the same thing about yours too, mate. It makes you feel good because people can just enjoy talking about it without starting to beat each other up about it and personalities and stuff. I think it's great.
Oh, dude, I mentioned it too. Like right at the end of the last spaces I was in, I was like, I showed up at a space that was like UFO themed. I go in there and like, there's two people that are ready to kill each other, and I'm like, I don't even want to stay in here for 2 minutes. And then the spaces that I'm in earlier, they focus on the topics and like the themes and the concepts that are deeper, and it's just such a better space to be a part of.
Yeah, if they're
Hey,
even
wait.
talking
Speaking
about
of,
like
oh,
UFO Twitter, pseudo celebrities, I just jump right back out, man, and find a space like this where people are talking about experience.
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, man. What I was going
My
to
bad.
say is, no, it's not your bad. It was my bad. I was going to say earlier, I actually said something like that along the lines, made somebody laugh. I said, I picture these as town halls. It's just me. I just want to host them. I moderate, just people having conversations, nothing, not the town halls nowadays. Back before we used to kill each other at town halls. That's the kind of shit I was talking about. She just laughed, chuckling at the fact, trying to picture this. I mean, these safe spaces can be used. And I mean, hell, like Kent just said, man, I come away from these uh, positive stuff, and I try to avoid that others. So you heard it here first. MySpace is the best. Tell everybody, retweet and go in that thread right now and like it. Okay, I paraphrase it.
Make sure you retweet. Say Old Vet Shane has the best spaces in Twitter.
Do you guys remember that discussion we had the other day? And there was a couple of these pseudo celebs in there, and one of the things that we talked about was we said the thing we liked about these spaces was it's not about personalities. It's just about discussing the info and the discussions.
Actually, Astral made a point about that the other day, Kent. That's one of my favorite parts about the spaces. And I have a lot of friends that are in the community. Like, I can mention them and they'll just pop in, and it should be, we're all on an equal level just talking. And most of them do that too. Astral, you said something about it the other day. You said, isn't it cool? I think the same thing. Like, Frank Milburn pops in, my buddy of mine, people like that. And you're just holding conversation. People that are big in this topic, but they're in here. They're not kings, right? And that's how we shouldn't treat them like such. We should just, so go.
And dude, and
I was
even
just gonna say
on
we're
the,
all
I
just
just want to
people.
mention too, real quick, on the total other side of it, of what I've noticed too, of like somebody popping in last night to a space and being like I've heard about, he like totally new to the subject, like I've heard about aliens, like they're if they're 10 years ahead of us, they're traveling 10 years faster than us, right? And like totally new to the subject, but it just gives you a different perspective of like there are people coming into this subject that are totally new but are jumping into the spaces, so we've got to be cognizant of like we can't get too overly complicated with this stuff and still be acceptive of other people's ideas.
Correct. Hey, Mary, do you got a question or you want to talk?
Yes, can you guys hear me? I've done this one other time, so
yes, we can hear you very good.
Sweet. Okay. I don't really have anything to say about some of the other stuff that you guys were talking about, but I am compelled to ask if anybody has experienced the Hat Man during sleep paralysis. Like, people all over the world see this guy that looks like he's wearing a gaucho hat who stands, above you in your bedroom, and he feels terribly malevolent. And I guess what's freaking me out now is when you become, I don't know who said, when you become aware of them, they become aware of you. And that,
Diana Pasolka.
Yes, it's terrifying. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. It's so random. But
Can I actually, because I'm taking a lucid dreaming class right now with what I believe to be the expert in the field, who is Robert Wagner. And one of the things that he talks about is something called the shadow, which is a larger concept in philosophy, which is like dealing with a part of yourself that you kind of don't want to deal with. And a lot of the times when you're in a dreaming state and like something is very fearful or like trying to confront you, it's something that's a part of yourself that you need to kind of address and like ask questions too of like, why are you here? Or like, what do you represent? And so I just wanted to throw that out there because that like literally like that's the class that I'm taking about right now.
So like Astral makes a good point. And I have a good friend. He's written a book on lucid dreaming. His name's Lee Adams. We've had him on the podcast a bunch. He had sleep paralysis, like what you're saying, like this being. They would always come. He was like afraid to go to sleep. It was like a really really big issue for him. And he's really big. He got into like Jungian psychology, and Astral mentioned the shadow, confronting your shadow. That's a big part of that. But also, one thing that I found that was interesting of how he got rid of this entity and he never had sleep paralysis again, and he could go back to get into the normal sleep and sleep cycle and circadian rhythm, was the next time he saw that entity, he like engulfed the entity, like he swallowed the entity into himself, and that got rid of the entity. So it's to Astral's point, I would say try and confront this guy or the thing. I don't think it can't do you any harm, in my opinion. I think that by confronting it, I think you might take its power away from, whether it's part of your subconscious or it's external or whatever. I think that confronting the thing is the way to go.
well, I'm totally, yeah, I totally agree. I just want to say one more thing. Dude said to me, telepathically, I guess, he said, I can touch you anytime I please. And I was like, I mean, it was clear as a bell what he was saying to me. I can come back and I can do whatever I want. You know what I mean? I think I agree with you. Maybe what brings them to you or me is the negative stuff that you're talking about, the things that you have to work through. But I do still feel like this is a sensitive. I don't know what you guys think about that, but I
Just
hope you
add
do back.
Yeah.
real,
No, I've got like Quad, are you going or?
real quick. Just to kind of build on what Mind Escape said and Screen Name as well. That which you fear in this realm, in my experience, gains power over you. So by having that terrifying experience, and it's communicating to you, right? And that's the perception that you're having. It's going to gain that power over you. So being able to kind of distance yourself from that fear, and go in and confront it without fear, is going to allow you to work through it and overcome it.
Well, what do you
If I could add
what
too, Mary,
about right?
Mary, just if you don't mind me adding too, I think that he's right on track, and I think the guys are right on track. If you react with this stuff positively, he's trying to convince you that he can cut you, but he's trying to convince you. He's trying to make you allow him to do things to you, and fear from you is giving him power. If you turn that around and actually fight it, and I can only say from personal experience, it works. The bigger the foe, that you'll get a response. You'll get energy from inside to fight it, but you've got to believe you can. And when you do, you can really fight it and you can get rid of it. You can do it.
Oh gosh, you guys have more faith in me than I have in myself, but I will try to do that because he has freaked me out. He's messed with my, circadian rhythm. I have
Yeah.
a hard
But he
time.
relies on that. If he can get you off kilter, if he can get you to go into a negative or I don't want to use the word depressed, but a down state, if he can get you to angle down, he starts winning. And if you know people who can see auras, they can tell you who has the power in a conversation by which aura is over the top of the other person. So he's trying to put his power over you and draw from your fear. You've got to, I know it's not easy, but you've got to process the fear and understand that he can't physically engage with you without your permission. And then you've got to push back and say, no, fuck you. This is coming back. I'm serious. You've got to be strong and
Yeah.
you've got to say, no way are you taking over my brain, and turn it positive, and I believe it'll get better very quickly.
Well, I love that. And I have one last question for you guys. Do you think psychedelics, like a psychedelic experience might help that as well?
I mean,
I
I
will
don't.
say this. Let me
Mm-mm.
go
I
first, Mike. Then you go.
Okay, go
Okay,
on.
hold on, guys. Let me just say this. First, let me make a disclaimer. None of us are doctors, nothing like that. We read. We've all been experiencers. We've done things
Sure.
ourselves. But what we can do is tell you what we've done. Like I said earlier, microdosing has helped me. Psychedelics has helped me more ways than I can ever imagine. The fact that I had to do it on my own and I couldn't rely on my own government, to say, hey, this stuff's good for you. It's kind of pathetic. But
Mhm.
I'll let others speak to the fact that I've never really tripped ball. When I was younger, I used to trip balls, but I've only done it therapeutically. So doing little amounts, every other day, or stuff like that type of thing, and that helped me dramatically. So I'll hand it over to somebody else who's done that.
Mary, for if you're dealing with an entity that is wanting to harm you, I would start small and then work your way up. It's easier always to start small, and you know what you're getting it. But yeah, that's all I have to say.
I would just kind of think about it in a different manner. Have you ever heard of holotropic breathwork?
No.
Okay, so holotropic breathwork is sort of like being it is and how I know it to be taught is somebody to get like super huge speakers and play a very entrancing song, and you get so entranced and you work on your breath as you're doing it.
Mhm.
And it's sort of like getting yourself in a different mode of thinking. You don't need drugs, in my opinion, to do that. Like you don't need to like do something to your body to get it yourself in an alternate state.
Right.
because I've seen people like in holotropic breath work like get into, because they do it for a full day, like they really get into a deep meditative state and like really work on trying to get in some sort of alternate mentality to like have a sort of experience to receive information. That's what they're trying to do. Like whatever questions they have, whatever questions you have personally, they try to experience like through an alternative method other than drugs. Like I know smoking weed, like all that stuff. Like what in my experience of the information that I have, when you take that shit to alter your body, like you lessen your experience, the frequency of it happening. But when you try to do it into like a meditative state, you increase your experience of happening. So that's my experience in it.
Well, I'm gonna
Mike.
try to.
Yeah, yeah. I was just
Okay,
gonna
hold on one
say, like,
second, Mary. Let Mike go.
if you're gonna take psychedelics, you should always know your own mind. If you have like a history or like family history of schizophrenia or something like psychotic breaks, you should definitely talk to a psychiatrist before you do anything like that. If you don't have anything like that and you do have a history with these compounds or like, cannabis or whatever, like Chase said, start slow or whatever. I don't know where you live. Some states it's even decriminalized, and you do have access to some of these things. There is this other thing called ketamine therapy, which is available in most places now. Ketamine's a dissociative. It's not really a traditional psychedelic, like playing off your 5-HT2A receptors. To Astral's point, yeah, you don't need this stuff for sure. It's the only thing I know though where anybody can take these things and have these experiences and share. I would say it's less anecdotal than a personal experience in the sense that you can have shared experiences and things like that. But I will say this: do you use cannabis, Mary?
Yes.
Okay, so like I'm sure you're aware, but do you dream less when you smoke cannabis before bed or use cannabis or no?
I gotta be honest, I've never really thought about it.
Okay, so like if you stop using cannabis, you'll have crazy intense dreams.
Okay.
It doesn't mean you get less, it doesn't mean you even get better sleep, but you'll just have more intense dreams. The
Mm,
science is that even if you smoke cannabis, you will dream less, however, you will get to that deep state of sleep still. I use cannabis. I meditate so I can get into lucid dreams in a different way. I don't need to have the traditional fall asleep method. But it's to each their own. But yeah, I would just say if you use cannabis before bed, you're most likely not going to dream. Maybe that's even throwing you off with these entities. Like I would think about things like that, like what you're ingesting now and how you're doing it, and maybe mix it up a little bit. Maybe instead of smoking at night, right before you go to bed, maybe a few hours before you go to bed, or something like that. I don't know, just a
If
suggestion.
I could add to Mike's point, just quickly, I know Screen's got his hand up, but that's a really good point, Mike. Is one of the things cannabis. I'm a smoker as well, but one of the things cannabis, it does take away your dreams a bit. I agree, and what it does tend to do is exacerbate pre-existing conditions. So, if this entity has been bothering you, and if it's making you feel a bit down, having a few cones can relax you, but it can also have an effect of exacerbating that negative experience. So,
mhm.
so one thing I would suggest, on top of all this great information, is the one thing I think is most important is get some inner strength. Have some faith in yourself that you're a good person and that you've got good intentions. Make yourself strong inside before you try to deal with this entity or any new type of dealing with it, you know?
Yeah. Well, you guys have been amazing because I have been, sort of mulling this over for months and living in terror that he's gonna just show up.
Are
And
you sleeping less because you're living in fear?
heck yeah, I
Yeah,
am.
so that's part of it. You have to, this is what I was telling you about, like confronting your fears, because if you confront it, take the power away, you'll be less afraid, you'll be more likely to fall asleep, and you'll be less likely to have sleep paralysis. Because what sleep paralysis is you are fully awake while you're still dreaming. Like you have woken up, but you are still dreaming, if that makes sense.
Right, right. Yeah, I have tried lucid dreaming, but I need to go back to doing that because I feel like you can kind of retool, what how your brain functions. If you can do lucid dreaming, that means that you're doing a very good job of exercising your brain. I know that sounds kind of lame, but I got to be honest, you guys. I smoked before.
Yeah, but can I mention
No, but
something
lucid
too,
dreaming
Mary?
you can also control. So, like, lucid means that you're conscious within your dreams. So, if you're conscious within your
Yeah.
dreams, that means you can control that entity too. So,
Right.
Okay, hey guys,
And
one
also,
second.
if you,
One second.
oh,
One
sorry.
second. No, you're all right. We'll continue on in a second. Don't worry about it, Mary. I'm glad you're sharing your story. I'm smoking right now, but I want to take a commercial break to actually say, if you look up in the nest, excuse me, that's what people should be doing. You know, playing their part without fighting each other, spitting venom. That guy literally every day he sends out to senators over and over, and I just try to retweet things like that, and that all of us kind of are doing our part. You know, coming in here, talking, holding these spaces. So hit the bell. You know, go in there, the thread, retweet, do whatever. Give these guys follows, man. I put them in the thread. So go ahead, you guys keep going. Ken.
and no, I was just gonna say,
Oh
and
wait.
to
Oh,
Shane's
you're
point.
too quick, Mike.
Oh no, no,
Mike is really, really
no! I
quick.
was just
He's
gonna
really
say,
quick.
everybody
After
does
you
do their
two, we're going
part.
back to hand raising. Okay.
Everybody does do their part, and I just like whatever it is. For me, I'm not an activist. I'm a philosophical. You know, I do a lot of research and reading and all that kind of stuff. That's my part. I know Shane's part is speaking on his own personal experiences and drawing from his own personal histories with the phenomena, and also his like addiction and mental health stuff. Same with me. You know, Ken draws from all of his personal work experiences and ability to like quantify things, you know, in terms of his engineering stuff. You know, Lucius with his all scientific background and all his theories and stuff like. So just do your part. You know, you don't have to do what other people are doing, and you don't have to copy off people or you know, and anything like that. So everybody's just doing
And
their part.
Chase with his stunning wits and
There you go,
character.
Chase.
We love you, Chase. Hey,
And
Kent, go
charming
ahead. Make it
personality.
quick though, bud, because we want to.
Yeah,
We're gonna
very
get
quick.
good on.
Just a quick one for Mary. One of the simplest forms of meditation to get to sleep is try and fill your lungs as deeply as you can to the count of 6. Counting it in your brain helps you get away from distractions. Hold it in for 2 and then breathe out to the count of 6 very slowly and definitely, and try and fill your lungs as deep as you can. Do that for about 5 minutes and you'll find you get to sleep really quite quickly.
I'm glad I got a pen and some paper before I said something because I'm having to write all this stuff down.
Mary, this is recorded, so you can go back and re-listen to this and clip it out if you want.
Right on.
Okay, and just
You
so
guys,
you know, if I saw the man in the hat, I'd have to get new sheets. I ain't gonna lie.
he's terrifying. He really is. He's about, I don't know, 8 feet tall, and he's wearing what looks kind of like a cape or something, and then he's wearing that hat. And apparently, like I said, millions of people over the years have seen this guy. So
Sounds
yeah,
like Jeepers Creepers.
yes.
Just one more thing on it, Mary. You know, if I can give one piece of advice, because I've been through a lot of the same stuff, is just cycle through shit. You know, like there's been some great suggestions. You're writing them down. You know, make this battle a project for you and just try different things. You know, call on Jesus. Try, you know, surrounding yourself with purple energy. There's like 1,000 ways out there. Something's going to work for you. And we don't know what that is, but something will work for you.
Right. Well, you gave me a list to start, to try and make this happen, because this is terrible to live like that, to be, I mean, a grown woman and I have a nightlight, you know what I mean? So
Hey,
anyway,
I've had worse, man. And you know, like I
yeah.
said, if I saw that, I put a picture, I put a little gif of my sheets up in the nest. If you want to check it out. So I'm glad you shared it, Mary. Come back and talk some more. Josh, you're up now.
Thank you.
Oh, I just want to say thank you for this synchronicity, because I was literally just sitting here like smoking out and just thinking, it's been a while since I've seen these things. I am wondering if THC breaks and all that stuff, because I was talking with a friend in a little private chat, and he was saying that he cut out his THC consumption and his contact increased a lot. So I was just sitting here thinking about that, and then I thought, man, it's kind of funny. So synchronicity is kind of counter to that evidence, right? So I was just right.
It's
It's a
so
little bit
counter,
ironic.
beyond counter, bro.
Yeah. So it's kind of funny. But I was just literally just sitting here thinking, I wonder if it impacts your how much it might impact your interactions with the phenomena. And so to come in here and just have this synchronicity is kind of hilarious to me. So yeah, I just wanted to say thanks for that. you folks.
Yin and yang. Yin and
Yeah, that's
yang.
it. I know what you were out there smoking, and you thought to myself, man, let's get weird. I'm gonna see if there's a Twitter space.
I did. I was like, I need to go check Twitter and see what's going on. Although that said, that's a little bit of a compulsion for me anyway, so I'm not sure that that's all that unusual.
Hey, speaking about compulsion, and then we'll get the screen name. Mike can verify what I did today. On the phone with him. I'm so used to being in these spaces. He said something I liked, and I went to hit a little clappy hand emoji, and I hung up on him. Go ahead, screen name.
I've done
Yeah,
that
he
too.
did. I'm like, what the fuck? What did I say to piss this guy off?
I just had some more stuff for Mary. I've experienced a similar being with sleep paralysis. Um, and you have tools, so you can do things like what are they called? Dream catchers. You can make sure that there's no moonlight like shooting through your window, especially into mirrors. You can even like they were saying you have power over it. So before you go to bed, you can like say, "I'm going to bed, and nothing's going to bother me until I wake up. Nothing's welcome." You can even put up signs saying that hat dude's not welcome. All that stuff works. Even burning sage, because it neutralizes the ions. It makes it harder for beings like that to move around. So I just wanted to throw those out there for Mary.
Yo, is it a being or is it just an experience of your subconscious? What do you think is happening during sleep paralysis?
Well, I'll
Good
tell you
question.
this much.
Both.
He looked almost solid, and when I looked up at him, he stayed solid, and then he just sort of faded out. You know what I mean? So,
How often have you seen it, Mary? If you don't mind me asking.
well, my mom said that I've been seeing stuff like him since I was really, really little, since I was about 2. But I've had other weird things happen at night, but this guy was the, icing on the cake. And I just felt like it was a continuation of all the other crazy shit that happened when I was growing up.
I
So,
think this is what we should do. I think we should all take a big hit of our herb. Into the other realm and fight this guy for.
You in the
Not
vein.
yet.
Hey,
Are you gonna
we'll
call
all gang up
Blue
on him. He
Buster?
ain't gonna stand a chance.
Yeah, we need to call Ganga because we need the hotline to get into this other realm. And this guy's got the
Well,
Like
code.
a
okay,
spiritual
here's an
posse.
idea, guys. Okay, let me interrupt you guys since you said that. You want to say, why don't you guys go ahead and get in that thread, retweet this out to people, put their names in there if you think they need to get in here and defend themselves on the woo. I do. Ganga need to get his ass in here and be a Debbie Downer for us. I like that. So if you guys get a chance, go in there, like it, and just retweet it. That helps us out, get this out there, more people in here. Okay.
Well, if I remember correctly, guys, correct me if I'm wrong, Sam and everyone, but Shane, sorry, and everyone, but I think even Ganga says that if you take control, that you can tell these things to basically bugger off.
Unless they're
I'm pretty sure he said that, yeah.
Yeah, he did say that, and the
He
only
also
ones that are
says
like,
if you take psychedelics and smoke cannabis, that the demons are going to get you. So I mean, you got that set up.
The key
Oh,
that
well,
I've
I'm,
seen from the lucid dreaming
he did not say that. He just does not use psychedelics.
the lucid dreaming class that I've taken, and Robert Wagner, which someone that I've seen, is like he makes an emphasis on interacting with dream characters and asking them questions, bro. Like why are you here? What do you represent? Like in your dream, you ask them that shit.
Hey, I'll say this too, that Sam Harris actually made a point to say that, and he's a big proponent of meditation, and he actually made a comment that he tried mushrooms one time, and he was kind of in awe at the fact that all those years of working his ass off to reach this level of meditation, and he said it was just that amount of mushrooms, and he was able to do it. I can't say anything else other than that.
I mean, look, they're not for everybody. Like the goal should be achieve that state without them. But I'm not gonna lie. I mean, there's a reason why I've done them a few hundred times in my life. Like you do get knowledge, you do get insight, you do process your own demons and your own struggles and things like that. Plus, I have OCD, and it's helped me
Yeah.
with that. So.
Well, he
it's a
said
very common thing.
yeah, he said you have more control with meditation as opposed to being just walloped with your subconscious.
I think it's a combination of both. I think they both help open windows to your consciousness that you wouldn't normally open under sort of every day-to-day consciousness. If you're meditating, you're trying to reach a higher level, and I think the mushrooms
I'll say
just.
this, and I know you had a psychedelic experience like you mentioned yet, but this is from my perspective the interesting thing, and I think you'll understand what I'm saying with this. Psychedelics are the only thing that you can alter your state of consciousness with and interact with the day-to-day consciousness or the world, the reality of this realm around you. Meaning when you meditate, when you have a near-death experience, when you have an out-of-body experience, when you have all these other states, they're lucid dreaming, you're all either unconscious or half conscious or you're closed eye or whatever. Psychedelics, you can walk around and interact with the world around you, which I think makes them super unique.
Well, Mike, to your point, though, I mean, if you go back to all the shaman ritualistic stuff, a lot of the old ancient cultures used herbs and medicines to get to that altered state. No, I understand what you're saying. It not only gets you there quickly, it gives you a completely different experience. It's why listening to you guys has actually convinced me to say, okay, yeah, I'm going to give it another try one day when it's safe and in the right circumstances, because I want to enhance my experience. If I can learn more, if I can see more for me, that's great.
I'm using herb right now for medicinal purposes.
It literally like inches away.
I wonder how many of us have a joint in their mouth as we're doing this.
Bong.
I just ate an edible and hit my vape pen and just hit I put little diamonds and sauce on the end of a oneie.
Oh, that sounds delicious, Mike.
I just got the look from my wife that it's too early for you to be having a bong.
It's never too early.
No, hell no, it's not ever too early. I tell you what, Mike's going to be all getting frisky here in a little bit. He took an edible and all that. I couldn't do it, man. There's no way. Hey, so up in the thread, I'm sorry, in the nest. Did you see where I put the Bigelow Institute for Consciousness on September 1st? So Robert Bigelow, Colm Keller, they're going to announce the grants program for they have this consciousness. They're the ones behind NIDS. Does anyone want to speak to that, or must I?
Are they announcing a new competition? Because I know they had one for like near-death
Yeah,
experiences.
yo, I'll speak on it, bro, because I'm
Thank
pretty
you.
I'm pretty
Thank you.
interested in it. And they had the I've been following Bigelow just with his interest in the paranormal and parapsychology. So he started this institute, and then he put like $2 million into a essay contest that was into the survival of consciousness, which is basically near-death experiences. And he gave out like over that $2 million to probably like 30 people who wrote essays.
Didn't
And
Jeffrey Mishlove win it?
Mishlove won it, which is deserved, bro, because he's been doing crazy research and documentaries and just interviews throughout like the last 20 years. So I figured like there was going to be an expert that was going to get that awarded. So now they're and they've kind of been delaying in like what the next step have been for what they're going to do. So they just announced that on September 1st, they're going to give more details about a grant research program that they're going to be funding. The only other funding that is similar to this, honestly, if you were a UAP researcher that wasn't already established, like your name wasn't fucking how put off, and you wanted to spin a real research project, like, and you had something legitimate, you would either go to the BIAL, which is BIAL, to try and get funded for it, because like either you would be privately funded by one of these huge companies, or you would try and get it established through a scientific research foundation. Now Bigelow's sort of putting his fucking hand into the ring now, and he's accepting research projects that he thinks can get sort of a little bit of a following behind it. And so I think it's interesting because he's going to be putting a lot of fucking money into this, in my opinion. He didn't say how much yet, but it's something that if somebody's got real research projects, and I hear a lot of frustrations about people that are like, there's no real research that's producing data. Like, this is something where you could submit an idea and get it really funded to try and get your research fucking out there.
Thank you.
Can we catch up later about that, mate? Because I've got an idea for one. I think it would be great. Yeah.
Oh, dude, like I'll explore it 100% and help you with the idea. But they're going to announce it September 1st, and like Shane said, he announced it. Like, take them. I'm going to show up to September 1st and what they announce. But I think it's important to see like what are they looking for funding for, because like Bigelow to me is just as interested in this stuff as he was in UFOs. He's still interested in UFOs in my eyes. So it'll be interesting to see like what he's looking for.
Oh yeah, I mean, like a disclosure mapping project is what I'm going to put forward.
That's pretty cool. You know what I've always wondered, and this is just a thing that I think about all the time. You know, being an experiencer who's often wondered, you know, because in the end, videos are just videos of lights and shit like that. Yeah, overall it's a data set, blah blah blah. But something along the lines of, I know that Alexi, I'm going to mess up his last name. He was down there with you guys, the Dr. Jim Segal.
I wanted to say Segala, but I might be messing it up too.
No, that's right. So anyway, he's designed a device, and Alexi will speak to this for me, right? You can probably speak to the device designed for experiences. I've always wondered why they don't design a little, like a full spectrum camera with like miniature versions of that and hand them out, or to have experiencers buy them or GoFundMe, and that way now they have these multiple data sets in the cloud connected and giving them. But that's just stupid shit that I think about. You want to explain that, Alexi?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's called the MUPAS device. So MUPAS. His name's Jim Segala, and he was on like the first couple seasons of Skinwalker Ranch. And basically, he designed like a little device that detects. He designed it originally for Skinwalker Ranch, but since then he's been using it with people that are local to his area that have experiences with the phenomenon. So he'll be.
Was he that slimmer guy, the slimmer scientist?
I've got a
He is
picture.
a
I'll
cinema.
put a post.
Wait a
Yeah,
minute. Is he a
I've got a photo too. I
Ghostbuster?
can share. Sorry, go ahead, Quad. What were you saying?
Is he a Ghostbuster? Because that's
He's kind of like a Ghostbuster. I mean, he he designed this little device and he gives it to people that have experiences. And what he measures EMF fluctuations basically in all the different ranges from like radio wave to gamma basically. And so he's been measuring the same spikes, that they see in the Skinwalker show. And what's interesting is these experiencers will be having a normal day, no spikes. Then all of a sudden, the equipment all spikes, meaning all the EMF waves spike, and this person now starts having a bad day. But then, like 5 hours later, 6 hours later, there's a second spike, and the person starts having like a normal day again, right? So, like, there's definitely a direct relationship between emotional states of people, these spikes, and like UAP phenomenon. And he's giving the devices to experiencers and tracking it.
I'll also add that he actually, with the UFO Disclosure Symposium in Vernal, Utah, that's actually where I met Alexi. He put on a presentation.
That's where I met Jim too. He
Yeah,
helped launch
met
the balloon.
Jim. Yeah, I was going to post pictures. I'll do it in a little bit. Anyway, he actually put on a good presentation about it, and it made me wonder because he talks. I mean, obviously, because of patient confidentiality, you can't tell who, and it made me wonder because there's some people within the government that are serious experiencers, and then they have those devices. So, yeah, just curious about that. Does anybody have a topic they want to cover or a case they want to cover or anything like that?
Dude, what's behind the I've just heard headlines on the like $4.6 billion grant that's given out to something. Can you shed some light on like what's going on there or any information on that?
This I do not know. Anybody else?
I think there was some grant that was given out or military funding that was like $5 billion or something like that.
Radiant? Is that what you're talking about? Radiant Technologies?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's connected to somebody, right? I don't give a shit, so I don't really look into it. But some of the players in ufology are connected to that.
Is that not the plot line to Zoo?
No, I was just asking, but honestly, I've just heard a couple of headlines about it. I didn't know if anybody wanted to shed light, if anything was behind it, or it was just kind of bullshit.
I don't know anything. Mary, you got a question? We'll get back to it, Astral. I'm sorry, but
I just posted a video of Jim just so you guys know. But sorry to cut it.
Yeah, I just wondered if you guys have noticed that Bob Lazar said that he saw the sport model or he worked on that. Have you ever noticed that every while somebody else, including Lou, I believe, if I remember correctly, talk about the sport model or the sports car version? I can't help but think that that's not a coincidence and not an accident because Lou's very good at dropping breadcrumbs. So I didn't know if anybody else noticed that, and if not, even so, what do you think?
Yeah, the Dare says that as well.
I'll say this. If you were to ask me if I believe his story, yeah, some of it, Lazar's story may be far-fetched, but I have no doubt in my mind that the government went back and erased some of his shit. There's too much shit that's there for it to be. So just knowing what they would do to keep this secret, we now know what they have done, right, with Richard Doty and things like that. So anyone that's going to say Wade wouldn't do that, full of shit. And this is a patriot, guys. So that's a good point. Anybody else want to speak on that?
Well, the theology I would approach with Bob, I started watching Bob's interviews from the first one when it first came out back in '89 or whatever it was. And there were just things about the way he told the story. There were things about the way he approached the subject that just rang true. I mean, I do a lot of interviews for my job and meet a lot of different people, and some people just come across genuine. I know a lot of people are very controversial about Lazar, but he comes across to me as genuine, and he doesn't seem to have a real reason to lie. So I think he's genuine, my personal opinion.
His body language is very consistent with somebody who's telling the truth. assessment. He's spot on.
Yeah, he's also got some narcissism that goes in there, and I'm not like a doctor or nothing like that, but which is straight in line with a damn genius, right?
Yep.
That's all I got to say is,
Well,
Yeah,
you
you
got
just
to
have to look
consider
at
too
me.
that
You know,
he fooled George Knapp, and he would have had to fool George Knapp and all of his producers and Jeremy Corbell
Yeah.
to get the credibility to go on TV, and it just doesn't make sense that it's all bullshit. You know, I know there's a lot of people who say it is, but
No, I agree. I believe Bob. I absolutely do.
same. So, hey, go ahead, Mary.
I was just saying thank you once again for
No,
kind of
don't
giving me.
thank us. Keep coming back and talking. Rachel, let's you might got another subject you want to talk about? Because I'll pick the next one too.
Thank you.
you want to talk about
Chase.
what?
We're gonna talk about Chase now.
Yep, we're going to talk about Chase.
I heard.
No.
I heard
All
he
right.
likes
Listen,
California,
Chase,
but,
we've got something to tell you.
Okay, here's what we
It's
should
another
talk about.
intervention. Fuck.
Go ahead, screen name.
Well, since Mary had mentioned about people saying like the sports car model, and I brought up David Adair. What does everybody think about David Adair?
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, he's like if you listen to him, he's like some super genius. But he was in the paper when he was like 15 for doing something with like rocket engines, I think, or something. But allegedly, he made like a electrogravitic type of like engine for rockets and stuff like that. And he tells stories of him like being down in the bunker meeting Nazis and getting punched in the mouth and just like all these crazy stories. I think he's one of the dudes in that Contact movie as well. Um, yeah, I don't know how else to describe him besides that.
I just want to mention something, folks. Sorry, Lish, but just wanted to mention something that I found quite interesting on a case that I looked at. I just wanted to mention that I don't want to go into too much detail, but the phenomenon that I had looked at as being a very real thing, something that was down on the ground, nuts and bolts stuff that people were researching and looking into. When I was discussing it with someone else whose name I won't mention, he provided me with a story that was just so close to the story that I had from the originator of the story. It was just profoundly interesting to me that this story even had similar names to the people who were really involved. And I can't help feeling that sometimes these things are actually created to distract people from potentially finding out something that's really going on.
Right on, Kent. Screen name, so you're referring to the suppressed tech?
Yeah, I think he was talking about David Adair, and basically he was like a rocket scientist as a kid. He grew up in like the NASCAR world, if I'm remembering the story right. And like yeah, so he built some advanced rockets, but then created an engine that used like it's like a particle accelerator, but like miniaturized to the point where it could fit on like a rocket, from what I remember. And then basically the military like liked it, asked him to help him out on a project. And they brought him into like this underground bunker, and he sees this engine, essentially like advanced UFO engine. And he looks at it, and he's like, "Oh, he knew exactly what it was." That thing. I don't know that much though, but like it seems, he seems credible. I don't know, that's all I can really say.
Hey, so how old was he when he developed the engine? I think I smoked much weed, guys. I think he said it twice.
I think he might have been like 15 when he got the rockets. But
that's
then,
what I thought you said. I was like, holy crap. And I burnt toast this morning. Hey, I got a question. Maybe this is actually something I thought about since I just realized you were in Thailand. I actually dated a Thai woman for a little bit, and I'm curious. The phenomenon this kind of stuff, how do they perceive it, like your wife's family or girlfriend's family
Very,
later?
and yeah, she's my wife. We're married, yeah. It's very interesting you say that because one of the best sightings I ever had was right over the house I'm sitting in now. Before we built this house, it was when it was just mum and dad's farmhouse next door. And that was just, I mean, literally something a centimetre at arm's length cruising over you and doing 490-degree turns in a U over your head. It was really unusual and very slow, just cruising along. Looked a bit like, I called it the gondola or the canoe. But the family here, they see a lot of, like here in Thailand, in the fields, they see orbs, but they call them ghosts. They call them P. P is the word for ghost. But we were sitting quite a few. I'll sit out here and look at the stars a lot because I'm retired now. And even the kids would run up to us and say, "Look at that one," and there would be one dropping vertically down, and then going out of visual range, for want of a better word. But yeah, some of the best sightings I've had have been right here over the house, but most of it here seems to be understood as manifestations of ghosts or manifestations of maybe Buddha's light.
You
If you
nailed
know
it.
what I mean.
That's why I asked. You nailed it because Dayton, that Thai woman. I wanted to see how they perceived it. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Because I knew there was something along those lines.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is, there's a lot of like even in the local village here at the temple that I'm probably going to get cremated at one day. There was a story about a guy who went there to pray for winning the lottery, and when he went there to win the lottery, he sat in the temple praying, and something started throwing stones at him. And this phenomenon got so intense that even when the monks went in to try and clean it up, this thing was still throwing rocks at people, and no one for a while ever even wanted to go into that part of the temple. That was right here in our village, and my wife's father actually was one of the people who experienced the rocks being thrown. But on the other side, most of it is perceived as spiritual, either a negative or positive form of ghosts. They've got quite a lot of traditions here about ghosts that come from, or spirits or gods that come from the ocean. And one of them's like a woman with a serpent's body, and she comes and steals men's hearts or steals men from their wives. So there's a real strong connection here to phenomenon, but mostly here it's interpretations of Buddhist karma or negative or positive spiritual.
So you said there's a ghost that steals men from their wife. You happen to have her number?
I find the throwing rock
You've
part
been
interesting.
to Pattaya, mate. You can go and do that, like in Pattaya. But Pattaya, mate, you wouldn't
Can't.
recognize
Are
it at the
you
moment.
are you telling me you're pulling interdimensional like digits?
I'm sorry. I'm in reference to what? Sorry, mate. Again.
No, never mind.
I think he was
There was
wondering if he's
something
wondering
naughty in there.
yeah, it was. He was trying to see if you were getting some loving from interdimensional beings.
No, not at all. Only one very lovely wife, and I know the only things that interdimensional beings have done with me is, instead the fear of there's something you have to be careful about. That's all I'll say about that.
I agree. He's done the same thing to me. Go ahead. Actually, let's Mary go. Then we can go, Serena.
Okay, I have another question. But have you guys ever noticed that several people, I believe, and Lou in particular, have mentioned them possibly being here for resources, including harvesting hydrogen?
Oh, I do. I got you here. So yes, he has said that, and I will still say
Why would they be harvesting hydrogen when the sun is literally like a massive hydrogen ball?
I have no idea. I mean, maybe it's too a hostile environment, whereas here, we've got tons of it. And
I could see like it collects over time. It's much easier to grab a big chunk.
Hey, hold up. What he's talking about is the difference between fission and fusion, right?
Right.
So what I'm saying is, if they're here near Earth, they ain't gonna fly over to the sun. I mean, Come on, all they had to scoop that shit up,
Well,
split it apart, get some energy, go the other way. But I was actually, I was kind of saying that jokingly, but that's kind of what she's getting at. I've had heard that. But here's the other reason. Stanton Friedman has a postulation called the mineral resource theory, that's why they're here. We're rich in all these different whatever it is, or it could be related to nukes. But yeah, was it Ingo Swann in his book? He talks about Axelrod. The Axelrod takes him to a lake, and they watch a craft come out of the lake, and he shits himself, and then watch this craft start just gulping water, just start absorbing water, right? So that's something that, they talked about and all that. But no, Mike has a point. Go ahead and finish on that. I didn't mean to interrupt you, Mike.
No, I mean I was just throwing it out there. Like that doesn't sound like there's so much hydrogen in the universe. Like why come here for it? But I guess that's assuming that they are from somewhere else. If they're from here, then yeah, that makes sense. I guess. But to your point, maybe they want the water. Maybe it's more because waters might be more rare than we think. I mean, even in our solar system, we know the moon has some ice caps. We know Mars does. We know Europa. We know some of these other places definitely have, ice or have had water at some point. But yeah, I don't know. I don't see the mineral thing. I could see it, I guess. I don't know. The gold thing, I think, I'm not like an Anunnaki. I think that whole thing's stupid mistranslations by what's his name? 12
Some food
Planet.
for thought there too to support Mike on that.
But I would just say, just to make this point real quick, Ken, is that gold is rare in the universe, and there's only a finite amount of it, and it comes from stars exploding. But to think that we're like some sort of alien puppets that are mining gold from, that's stupid too. You would think that they'd have some sort of process that would, bypass that whole thing. I don't know. Just doesn't make sense from a logical standpoint.
Can go ahead and this one be renamed.
Yeah, sorry, mate. Just a quick one to back Mike up. It's my personal opinion. I think if we're being visited by other intelligences, I would be convinced that it's much more about our unique consciousness and our interaction with our life on the planet rather than resources. I think anything that can reach us would be able to get all the resources we talk about much easier from another location without having to interrupt our species.
Right.
I think they're here because we're somehow unique and somehow, I don't want to say special, but maybe we just have a unique, maybe we're really cute kids. You know what I mean?
That's a good one. Well, I don't know. I mean, Lou actually mentioned that, and he did, and I swear he said, although I know nothing about this sort of thing, that it is actually difficult to get hydrogen in space itself. I don't know.
If I could just quickly respond, all I would quickly say is Lou is one person with one set of experience and ideas. We should keep that context when we listen to the UFO gods,
It's right. But I also I rely heavy on who I filter through. So I'm just like you. I happen.
I mean, maybe he knows some shit or was told some shit by a scientist. I mean, that's also a possibility too. I'm not a scientist or atmospheric scientist or anything like that. So maybe there is something to being able to trap hydrogen here or something like that. So that's a possibility. But I was just from a logical standpoint, like hydrogen is one of the most common elements in the universe. So why come here? But if you're saying that maybe it's part of the way that it's processed or the way it's contained here, I guess I could see that. So,
just the point though, we are convinced by the scientists at the moment that our best resources for the future are out in the stars. So they're telling us the opposite of what we're saying justifies aliens.
Mike, would you rather go to the beach to get your water, or would you rather go to the inhospitable landscapes of Mars to get it? If you had an option and easy access to
I would be like, let's get this Ganga guy because he's going to do it for us.
Hey, Mike, take over for a minute for me.
Yeah, I got it. No, I get your point, Ganga. I mean, yeah, it's nicer here, but that's kind of, again, are we the only planet? Like, there's got to be other planets. Like, we know there's other Earth-like planets. Are we the best one? I guess, again, that could be a possibility, but You know, with an infinite amount of planets or life sustainable planets out there, I would think that there's probably something even, I don't know, just a speculation.
You don't think it could be a function of them being ultra terrestrials as opposed to extraterrestrials? So they're here.
I mean, if they're popping in and out of this dimension, then do we even know like that they would need water or these molecules? Like if you're coming, like we don't that you know, like I guess it would just depend. I mean, we don't know anything. Like that's the whole point is like for somebody to say they do know something versus somebody, I don't know. I'm saying that that's just speculatively, yeah, that's a possibility. Speculatively, could they want to come here because it's so beautiful here? Yeah, I guess that's possible. Like
I got
anything
something to
else.
add. They need water because they make pancakes, bro. We've already talked about this. The screen name, you're up.
Speaking of the pancakes again, it's funny because that sounds like the stories of Mana. But also, everybody laughs at me when I bring up the hydrogen thing. But if you have water, hydrogen, and oxygen, and one more thing, Kent mentioned the rocks being thrown and all. Did they have anything about Bigfoot over there?
Interestingly, I don't think. Do you have anything about a Bigfoot here, sweetheart, or not? Big hairy person-like creature? No. No, they. No.
Oscar, I mean, I don't know what the Thailand version, but I mean the other Asian version, Yeti, or
Dad did
Orang
mention,
Pendang or whatever, something like that.
yeah, well, my dad did mention. My dad served in Malaya back in '55. Hey, cool. Brett. She said Brett. Yeah, something like that. But my father mentioned that they had guys that work with the troops, the local guys, and he said they used to call them all Johnny. And he said one of them came running in one night. He said he was totally fucked up, and he said he'd seen the jungle man. And Dad said this guy said that what he saw was basically a yeti, yeah, a jungle version of a yeti. So there is definitely that myth here, or that beast is here. But again, I don't know much about it here in Asia.
Have there ever been Bigfoots with spacesuits?
I think sorry about that hiccup. On Dorothy Isaacs, she took a picture of a big Susan space.
Yeah, I was gonna say the other night that Dorothy Isaac, they said that there was a Bigfoot in a spaceship or a UFO.
I think it was. Did they ever see them with spacesuits on?
They're not seen with spacesuits, no, Ganga.
Oh, I'm just asking because if they ever get to another planet, they'll need it. So,
but if they walk through a vortex from one planet to another, they might be in a natural environment and accidentally stagger into our environment.
Here, I'm going to tell you this: Bigfoot, orbs, and UAP are all the same phenomena in the story. I'll fight you over that shit.
When Shane comes on our podcast, we're going to talk about him against him. He's fucking wrong.
I'm telling you right now, that's Bigfoot is woo. That's what you're seeing when you got woo. I'm living in Washington State. I'm telling you, go back and look at the stories, orbs and lights in the sky. These kind of things.
I told you, bro. I think it's your epigenetics. It's your DNA. You're having some sort of fight or flight or fear response, and your adrenaline's cranking. Okay, your endogenous chemicals are cranking. You're having this epigenetic memory of when we lived just alongside Gigantopithecus and other megafauna and things that kill us at any single point. That's what I'm telling you. That's what you're remembering. And maybe there's some sort of morphic resonance thing too. Maybe there's some sort of memory trapped in areas or things like that. I could see that being the case. Like if but like I don't know, man. Where are the bones? Are these things interdimensional? You're telling me they look like Chewbacca and they're popping in and out? Like what's going on?
Mike, I get your
interdimensional.
How come they didn't shave, bro? We know about shaving.
I get it.
You saw that video, right? Sasquatch, bro. Interdimensional.
You got to give Mike credit though. Mike has very detailed ideas about how it cannot be an interdimensional being, but you got to remember too, Mike, that this has been experienced by people since Everest.
Oh,
first offering of
trust me,
evidence.
bro. I know that every Native American or most Native American tribes have a mythology around Sasquatch. You have the Yeti. You know. Again, I know. I know. I've looked into it. I'm just saying. I am not convinced that there is a physical thing still alive. Now, if you're telling me that it's interdimensional, I guess okay, yeah, that could be a possibility, along with all these other cryptids and weird paranormal things, definitely. But you're telling me this thing looks like Chewbacca and it's more advanced than us and it doesn't shave and it doesn't, like, are we, what's going
Yeah,
on
but
here?
what's more harmonious with an environment than something that can live in the environment without making any differences
Yeah,
or
but these
adapting?
UFOs supposedly crank radiation and, like, hurt people and, like,
Yeah, but
Okay,
vortex is fine if it's
hold up,
coming
guys.
through a stargate.
Hold up, guys. Here comes the woo-apocalypse. Now check this out. What if all these things you're talking about, all these different variations, different cryptids? What if, like a Skinwalker Ranch, they talk about they witness creatures come out of a portal? What if that's what it is, interdimensional? They're here just to fuck with us, like drifters. So, what do you
You
think?
all have been watching Stranger Things too long, I think. I mean, I'm not saying that these things aren't possible, because I definitely think it is possible, like
Dude,
a lot of other
I'm
things.
not talking to upside down, bro.
Dude, I'm talking about Inside Out, bro. No, for real. Honestly, I think show me evidence. Show me the best evidence of Bigfoot, because we know that guy. What's that? What's it called? What's the footage? The famous footage.
Patterson.
Yeah, the
The gimbal
Patterson.
footage.
Yeah. Okay, so that supposedly that guy that was in the suit lived down the street from the guy that filmed it, and he like came out and admitted it. Now, is that guy
No.
lying?
I'll correct you.
No.
Yes. Actually, more people came forward. I watched. Here's the thing. I don't want to get all freaky on you, man.
Uh
I
oh.
watched.
Get freaky, bro.
I watched. They did some final editing and kind of. I think that guy that did that was live. They did some editing on it. I saw it's a female Bigfoot. I saw her ass and boobies move, and they were talking about it in the thing.
I was also told that there was some breasts.
Yes. So check it out. I gotta find a video. There's actually a video.
All right, you
And
two
actually,
pervs. You can explain that, but I'm just saying. I think that I don't know. So you think that that's the best evidence for Bigfoot, then?
well, I'm telling you this. I think it's pretty good evidence, but again, no, it's not the best. Why do we not have good evidence of UAP and stuff? Because again,
We have
they're
better
playing
evidence than
games.
that. We got
Yeah,
better evidence than that.
but again, bro, these guys are hopping out of portals, kidnapping us, probing us. They got some secret. They're not just holding signs. Hey, I'm gonna probe you tomorrow.
Dude, somebody's got to get one of these portals on tap here. I think the portal's your mind, and I think I'm not saying it's
Oh,
possible.
hey, Mike, you might find out one day that that's really not correct. You might find that there's actual, real, non-intermittent portals right down here on Earth, right in locations. You might be surprised. You might find that out one day.
Hey, man, I mean, maybe. Like I said before, I'm open to going, skinwalker, taking psychedelics, running through the desert. I'm willing, dude. I've been in the woods and like on Native American mounds. Trust me, I've been to places.
Real quick question: have you ever tried like making like portals or anything like that? You know what I'm saying?
You mean like magic, like with the K?
Yeah.
No, I believe
Okay,
magic
guys.
is more intention than anything.
Hey,
I'm not. Again, do your thing. I'm not criticizing. I'm not even saying you're wrong. I'm just saying.
Well, I guess my question would be, because my thinking is it's intention more so anything than anything you actually do. So couldn't we there's got to be a way to like kind of prove that you're what's it called? Oh fuck.
I'm open-minded. Somebody bring me some real proof or some real evidence. I will change my mind. I'm not, again, everybody that hears, if you've ever heard my podcast, I'm open-minded. I listen. I'll listen to anybody's story. I don't care.
Okay. What I'm saying is, can we manifest something with pure intention then, and prove that it is intention that manifests this stuff?
Can you close your eyes right now and meditate that you're gonna to manifest an ounce of weed, of the best weed in front of you. Do it right now. Prove it to me.
I know that's what I'm saying. I want to figure
Yeah.
out how to do that.
All right,
I
guys,
don't.
we got
I don't think you can. But I do think
move.
that. Here's what I'll say, and I've said this before. This is an interesting point. I think intention isn't like a momentary thing. Intention is like a long road that it's like you're bending reality slowly as you're going towards what you want, but it's not a momentary like, hey, tomorrow it's gonna happen or whatever. It's like slowly you're bending space and time, to your will of what you want. If that makes sense, that's the way I think about it.
That's I think a fair way to look at it. So
Okay, was it Tess or Dade first?
Hey, old man, I just
Tess.
gotta say, I gotta take off pretty much in like 2 minutes here.
All right, brother.
But thank you for hosting the space. I just wanted to kind of say peace out.
Guys,
Yep.
check out his
Right
YouTube
on.
channel. It's in the thread. What's up? Who was it? Tess or Jade? I don't know.
It's Tess. Tess was up first before me.
All right, thank you, Jade. Go ahead.
Hey guys, what an interesting conversation. It's kind of funny. I'm actually, my father is 100% Native Alaskan, Indian, and so I was born and raised in Alaska. So getting back to all these myths and legends and lower handed down from generation, they didn't write things down. They kind of shared that verbally. So so there, I don't recall anything like Bigfoot growing up, but there was this legend of half man, half like walrus type seal thing that came out of the water.
That sounds even creepier. It sounds like that movie Tusk with Justin Long.
Yeah, but it's not the only story from like Alaska. You have like throughout the world, in different, different native kind of legends and things. But I don't know. I don't know if those are true. Or if it was just something to keep you away from the ocean. We grew up on the ocean, so you just don't know. I don't know. But I also believe that you guys were talking about intention, and I'm delving more into spirituality. I just started learning about it last year. I've been baptized in several different religions. I don't judge anybody, but to each his own. Live and let live. We're all here, and I love spaces because we can all just kind of bounce ideas and share experiences and talk about things. So this is great. So thanks again for having me. But I think with intention, I think if it's kind of unprogramming everything that we learned, certain aspects, of course, not everything, but and set an intention. And I was hearing, I think it was Alexei, he was talking. I saw that interview. It was about 2 hours long. It was so fascinating. I wish they could have kept going, but the host had to, cut it off. But hopefully there'll be more, and I'll look for that. But it was so fascinating because it just covered everything that I've been studying up until this point about, he even shared that he doesn't even meditate anymore because he's able to see, manifest things, and then they come into fruition. Like he would wake up in the morning and he'd write a few, I don't know how many books this guy has written, but he's so really intelligent. And it's just fascinating where he's melding the scientific community with spirituality, which is, up to this point, we just all need to take the blinders off, because we don't really know. We don't know, right? How there really wasn't a big bang. That doesn't make any sense, right? So anyway, enough of me. I know you guys are wanting to talk, so thanks again for having me. Fascinating discussion. Thanks.
Thank you, Tess.
Good evening. The word intention, in, so you're not going to be able to manifest the world's finest weed or hash. Unless, you know, there's some master Yoda Jedi shit out there that I don't know, we don't know about. But I posted up above in the nest, and unfortunately the academia.edu link is not working right now. But you can check it out at your leisure, Liber Null and Psychonaut. And I'm not going to go into that, but it deals majorly with intention, using sigils, thought forms, and psychological sleight of mind, which eliminates the lust of result for putting your intention out into the fabric of reality and manifesting whatever your intent may be. So that's all I'm going to talk about on that. I just wanted to put that out there. Somebody might find it extremely useful. Unfortunately, the link that I put in the nest is shit, but it's an amazing book. Check it out if you like. It's pretty fucking intense, very powerful. It might change your life. Anyway, talking about Sasquatch, Yeti, Chewbacca. So a few years ago, I was in Durango, and a friend of mine used to own a bike shop there, mainly mountain bikes, mountain bike rentals. They worked on anything, bicycles, ski, snowboard as well. But you know, Durango, you have Fort Lewis College, and then, you know, Purgatory ski area about 25 miles north of there. So it's college, snowboard, ski, resort town in a sense. And this guy. So went in one day. I had known him for years, and I busted the bead on my tubeless. Well, actually, I busted the rim on a stump mountain biking at the ski area. And I went in, and he always hooked me up because I just done business with him for so long. You know, it's like, don't worry about it, bro. And you know, I love the guy, and I would help him with his web and whatnot. So I went in one day. I was over at Oreos, and you know, I had a wheel with me in the back of my truck that I needed rebuilding, and you know, he's a master wheel builder when it comes to like downhill mountain bike stuff. So I'm like, you know what? I've had a few beers. I'm gonna roll over to the shop and you know, smoke a bowl with Jace. So I get over there. I'm like, hey, can you rebuild this? I don't give a fuck how long it takes. I have a couple others, but you know, like, what the hell happened to you? You get attacked by a Yeti or some shit? I've never seen anybody like this. You need a new wheel. Like, this rim's fucked. I'm like, well, I can put a new rim on. I don't care. And you know, make sure it's a DT Swiss, like, best you can get. I don't care. Like, and check the bearings. He's like, cool. It looks like you were attacked by a Yeti, and I was. And I came up with this hilarious, like, ad libitum story about, yeah, and this fucking hairy thing, he looked like Chewbacca came out of the forest, and he like pulled his pants down, and he's chasing me down the trail, his wiener flopping around, and then I hit a rock, and he's, you know, we're laughing, all of us in the bike techs are laughing. And he's like, dude, you want to hear something funny about Sasquatch? I'm like, you have something funny? What is this, like a personal anecdote? Like, he's like, no. And this is the most funniest shit I have ever heard come out of somebody's mouth. So this guy is like a hardcore Mormon. Nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying it's a fault. In case there's Mormons here, good for you. But he tells me, he's like, well, you know I'm Mormon. I'm like, I have no idea what you are. He's like, yeah, I'm a Mormon. I'm like, cool. Like, how come you only have one wife? He's like, ha ha. I'm like, anyway. No, what's the deal with like Sasquatch? He's like, well, in the Mormon religion, do you know about like the seer stones? And I'm like, yeah, I've heard all that. Yeah. He's like, so basically what we've realized over the years now, and this is like 2.5, maybe 3 years ago now, he's like, the current leaders of the Mormon church have discovered that Sasquatch is Cain. I'm like, Cain. You mean like Cain and Abel Cain? He's like, yeah. Cain killed his brother, and God cursed him to like immortality. I'm like, what? What the f are you talking about? And he's like,
I think
yeah,
I've
dude.
heard that somewhere.
Yeah, it's weird. And I was like, wait, all right, tell me more. Like, because I'm like that one motherfucker that's like, you got to tell me more about this fucking weird shit,
Hey,
motherfucker.
Jake.
Like, yeah.
Hey, Jake.
And he says, yeah, God cursed Cain and basically.
Jake, that's the beauty, man. Hey, you can keep your story going. It's just less cussing, man. We don't need to tell that much cussing, okay?
Oh, my bad. So,
Yeah.
I think I'm worse than Dave Grohl. Anyway, yeah, so I'm like, dude, you can't be real. He's like, yeah, God cursed Cain for killing his firstborn brother and basically cursed him with immortality and turned him into this hideous, hairy creature. And that's how we have Sasquatch. I'm like, dude, I want to know who you're getting your mushrooms from because I want to. He kind of got indignant with me, and he basically kind of asked me not to come back for a while. He's like, you couldn't have offended. I'm like, dude, I'm not trying to offend your religion, but this is so far fetched. Like, you're telling me that me, an atheist, that your God cursed this dude for murdering his brother, and now we have this creature that can, like, we're talking about tonight, like, it's like this transdimensional traveling furry Wookiee guy. Like, but you guys reminded me of that story, and I just had to share it because it was absolutely so hilarious and out there, beyond the pale, out there that
Thanks
I just
for
had to
sharing,
share.
Jake.
Yeah.
Hey, was it Kent or Screen Name?
It's me. I've got to jump in. It's my turn. I think Screen will wait for me. Don't worry. I just wanted to put something past you to have a think about if, because every one of us is discussing we're sharing a common consciousness, for want of a better word, at the moment on this platform. And so I just want to take that a little bit further. And just a thought experiment, for want of a better word, is if every single one of us is a part of a much bigger interactive consciousness that manifests yetis or UFOs or ultra beings or archetypes or whatever, imagine what that would actually look like from the outside. A fully interactive consciousness that manifests reality that is inputted by 9 billion different entities just on this planet, let alone all the other entities that might be tapped into the same consciousness. That's pretty wild.
That's what we're doing. That's why I shared that book, Liber Null and Psychonaut by Peter J. Carroll. The entire book is devoted and studied to a morbid level of focus by that man and shared in 1987 is when the book came out. I'm telling you, Ken, mate, we talk all the time. You have a DM conversation going, it's a mile long. Check the book out. Find it on Amazon, buy it, read it. You don't have to practice it, but I'm telling you, if you guys look into practices in this book, it is exactly what you just said. But we don't, we're almost at 8 billion, whatever. There's maybe a few 100,000 people that are actually have mastered the techniques in this book. And I'm not saying it's real. What's real to me may not be real to you. Man's junk, but it's exactly what you're talking about, Ken.
But sorry to jump in again. I'm sorry, Screen. Just a quick response, though. Just magnify that also to the next level, Jade, where you bring in the consciousness of, at whatever level it is, of every life form on the planet, and then every life form on the planet. I mean, it turns into more of a consciousness soup than a separation, if you know what I mean.
Right on. Go ahead, Screen Name.
Yeah, I just have two quick things. First off, I was going to tell Jade, I've never heard the Cain part, but look at the Jacob and Esau story. I'm pretty sure Esau is also a Bigfoot. And then for Mike, I tried to find the YouTube video, but Coast to Coast has the videos hidden. Connie did an interview with this guy about Bigfoot, and he's got like them on recording, communicating them. He says they drop these marbles out of nowhere, like out of thin air. And he's got a lot of compelling evidence on video and audio. I tried to find it, but they have the video hidden.
There's a case from the 70s where a couple of hunters went up in the mountains in California and they got audio recording. They had it analyzed and they can't figure out. It sounds almost like an Indian, like an American Indian, Native American, how they speak, but it's not quite right. They were also speaking of high strangeness. Orbs happened at the same time, and they were seeing it was literally big was what they were seeing. It was messing with their camp. I'll have to find it, try to post it in the link.
Like I said, I'm open-minded. I don't think anything's not possible. I just think it's based on, like, if you're going to present me two things right now, and you're saying, here's the information and the data for UFOs and encounters with UFOs and beings and things like that, far more compelling than the Bigfoot. I'm not saying the Bigfoot's not real. I'm just saying I'm looking at the data for that. And I'm drawing from my own experiences. And maybe if I saw Bigfoot, maybe that would change, but...
Change your mind. Don't you worry. I was going to tell... Mike was actually... Me and Mike started the space last night. This is how crazy my experiences got. And somebody had posted... let's see if I can find it. Congress says that, I guess, sightings are increasing exponentially. I've been saying that for months, talking to other experiencers, like just mine exponentially, right? I'm in a space just like, oh, Mike, there it is. Oh, there it is, just talking back and forth. It's just flying back and forth. Now, are there any other experiencers? I see Matthew Roberts is in here. What's up, brother? That their, I guess, experience has increased with intensity lately, and you have a feeling of it. Because for me, it just kind of feels like, I don't know, possibly they're trying to tell us something, but and every experience is probably a piece of that puzzle, but nobody takes it seriously. So anybody else that's experienced to talk
Shane, go get us the gold. Shane, the gold.
That's what they're saying, bro. I'm telling you, we're being manipulated. You may not like it. We're being manipulated. I mean, in a good way, I suppose. You know, just like that's probably where we got pancakes. You know what I'm saying? They made us pancakes, bro. I've already discussed that. I don't want to talk about the pancakes anymore.
The least they can do is make us pancakes. Jeez.
But come on, that goes to what I keep talking about. This is so personal and crazy. Like, the experience is so vast. Why couldn't they all be tied together? Why couldn't they be all part of the same system, whatever you want to call it, a control system, things like that, right? But because think about it, you get shared experiences, you have experiences that other people have had that are very similar, almost alike. Then you got things that are so wild and out there. Again, I'm going to go back to you had a blimp in the 40s before it basically just landed and dude asked for water and made him some pancakes, right? And the government analyzed the pancakes. And so that's a chicken and egg thing. If you
I
don't
can
think
see
you're
like a whole like
manipulated,
montage of them like inspecting these pancakes, like
oh,
take it to the music in the background. They're like dissecting this pancake.
the
The
only
eye of the
difference was
tiger going.
yeah, the only difference was this pancake didn't have any salt, right? But this is a chicken and egg thing. So if you don't think we're somehow being manipulated, I'm just saying, like I brought it up earlier, when he saw this and described this lighter than air thing, right? Or when we see this tech, or so we're kind of just we're being manipulated. We're not knowing it may not be a bad thing. Maybe it's just our what is it? Our lizard avatar overlords just keeping us in control. We're cattle. It could be any of those things, DNA, whatever you want to call it. But I'm not too worried about they'll meet me and get my personality and drop me right back off. Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, here's a testimony to the whole collective consciousness from my point of view, my personal experience. Starting out even as a young lad, I've been playing guitar and fucking sorry about the F-bomb, my bad. I'll be more mindful of that. Since about 7, I picked up a guitar when I was 7 and kind of ran with it. And, got into prose and poetry in middle school, high school, and then afterwards in college, and made most of my ventriloquation about all that. College, I wrote a badass licks that I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna grab some brains with through the ear hole with this stuff. Like, this is sweet as candy. And kind of put that on the back burner because college got a lot going on. And a couple days later, I'm like, I'm in Portland going to see Tool down at the Salem Armory. Like, me and my girlfriend are all happy. Like, it's like the night before the new Vinyl album's coming out, and we're listening the PDX Edge. Right when Clear Channel bought out all the radio stations, and some song came on. I can't remember what band it was, and the reason I know that I can't remember now is I was so pissed off. I had worked months on this riff, and this song had that riff, and it was being given like real heavy air rotation at the time, and I'm like, what the fuck? I've been working my ass off on this lick and this whole like bridge, and and I'm kind of stuck at a point, and I'm like, you know what, that project's done. That singular song is done. Like, and yeah, we have this system of mathematics, fractions, music, timing, tone, wavelengths, energies, that can match with psychological human emotion, and it happens. I have a lot of different musicians in my time, and they're like, yeah, I really freaking hate that. Like, you're working on something and you think you have this like unique like tilt on a certain phrasing within a certain tuning, within a certain mode or register, and then the next thing you know, you turn the damn radio on, it's like, boom, there it is. Like, somebody else you've never even heard of is like playing your music, and you're like going, that's my music. But if you really look at it, that's their music. And like, so the illustration I'm giving is like, it's not bound only to like the mundane subject of music or creation or the spark of thought or intent or all that, but we are tied into this collective consciousness, whether we like it or not. And I think instead of anything, the main reason I brought this up is that I realized, like, instead of being so like secular or like provincial about it, as far as like what you're doing, what you're about, your circle or this, that, and the other, like, go, whoa. Instead of going, at that time, I probably could have like reached out, like to one of my girlfriend's friends at K-Rock in LA and said, hey, could you maybe like introduce me to these guys? Because like, why like the same thing? And I would love to like go into a room with these guys and go, hey, I have like, check this out. Like, here's my, sitting there with my like, whatever. And then like, wow, dude, like, we were thinking of it that way, but I could have opened my mind more and been more open instead of provincial and said, hey, you know what? Like, these guys don't even know me, but I feel ripped off. Like, that type of indignance is what blocks us from like really connecting with our neighbors and realizing that we are all one consciousness. We're a part of the 46 and 2. And I think we should open more up to each other, realizing that we are all experiencing the same stuff at the same moment, because it's a powerful thing. And I think that type of mentality, if we move to that more on like a public conscious level and realize that we are all experiencing the same reality at the same moment, like, the better off we are. Because I think groups like this coming together talking about UAPs or disclosure or the paranormal or whatever, I think we're going to discover more truths together in that open-mindedness, like Mike was talking about, than going, damn, that was mine, like, how dare you? Like, no, we all have the same type of brain. We all think somewhat similarly. So, that's all I wanted to say, is like, open up a little more, be a little more kind and loving and open to, because there's something to that.
All right, thank you, Jade. I appreciate that. Actually, before you go, Kent, one thing I just wanted to say, since I got Matthew in here, he's listening. Someone popped into his face today, Matthew, and they had an appointment with Senator Gillibrand, and it was Christopher Wolford's face. I happened to be in there with him, and they asked for anything that needed to be brought up, and I mentioned what you had brought up, and Christopher Wolford put behind that too. So that's one of the things he was going to bring up about veterans experiencers in the VA. That kind of appreciate you bringing that attention. I was going to text you, but I was like, you're in here. I'll still text you just in case you're not listening right now, brother. All right, go ahead, Kent.
Oh, that was interesting. No. Again, you keep throwing me off with all these really weird curves right at the end. No, just on intention. Oh shit! No, I've got to come back.
Come on, man. How you doing?
You mentioned Senator Gillibrand, and my brain just like totally detoured into politics for a sec. So yeah, I just lost the train of thought. Where were we, Jade? Come on, help me.
Intent. We were talking about intent and collective consciousness.
Oh,
and,
sorry. Yeah, no. No. You were talking about hearing your music done by other people, but just to mention to you, that is like when we talk about quantum entanglement and Akashic stuff, simultaneous invention is documented. It's happened with some pretty famous stuff: the telephone, the TV, invented by totally independent inventors at the same time and virtually with the same drawings. And then you get mathematicians who get their formulas from dreams, and you get Paul McCartney said he used to hear his songs in his head like a full song, and he would write them down and make them.
I mean, Tesla was able to like visualize his experiments. Same thing with Einstein with like the theory of relativity. Like I'm a visual thinker as well. Like I've always tried to cultivate that as this like mind space or scape where you can like picture everybody or everything.
Mike, I just muted it by an accident. You're gonna have to start over. I maybe muted you.
Dude, I told you not to, bro. I told you not to do it, bro. I hate that shit. If you can, I know it was an accident. Totally accident, bro. Shane is the accident king when it comes to that stuff.
It doesn't mute the co-host though, so you were good, Mike. But
I was just saying, I know Chase likes it too. There's some people that like the button out there. Don't use it. Take control of the room.
I do like it.
I hate it.
Don't use it. Just control the room, Chase. You can do it, bro. I have faith in you. You don't need to hit that button.
One of the easiest ways to gain control.
I know, but I intentionally. It actually does what I did to Kent.
Control with your knowledge, bro.
All thought and conversation stopped, so I try to avoid it. So yeah. Kent, do you remember what you were talking about? Did I interrupt that thought again, bro?
No, it's okay. No, we sort of covered it. Simultaneous invention, and the fact that similar songs, similar people seem to get similar trains of thought, and to go a little step further, even simultaneous viruses forming in different parts of the globe at virtually the same time, totally unlinked to each other. There does seem to be these commonalities of all forms of
Quantum
reality.
entanglement, Kent. Like, what about particles being entangled and having some sort of memory together and forming based on
for sure. There's got to be something. If there's any form of translated learning and consciousness, then it has to have a medium to be able to transfer through. And I think it's like we spoke about in that other space. Buddy was talking about, and I mentioned the Akashic record, and he called it the Akashic realm. I think he called it the same thing. I think that maybe one potential possibility is that there's a sea of knowledge, and that as individuals we sort of swim through that sea between one reality to another, and we either gain a bit more and move up a bit, maybe, and I don't like using the word up, or we want to learn a bit more, so we go on a sideways deviation to learn more. I think that's one of the possibilities,
Jay, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm going to bring up a couple of points here and a couple minor not oblivious, but benign experiences that are leading me up to this question. Shane, is it right?
Say that again?
What is your name, sir?
It's Shane, bud.
Shane, okay. So, all right, it was about around June of last year, I came across Jeremy Corbell and his, fun sidekick, Rob Lazar. I came across extraordinarybeliefs.com and paid to watch Skinwalker Ranch. And through various channels, somebody recently told me that you actually, Shane, have recently come into a situation or a social situation with what is it, the taker or the manager of Skinwalker Ranch? Former
I don't even remember. What you talking about? No, I met some of them.
Okay, you met them,
By
but
no means. No, let me put it personally. Stop, Jade. No one likes me, so I doubt they do, bro. But no, I've met them. I'm acquaintances with them. But go ahead with the story.
okay, so anyway, I watched this documentary. It was pretty interesting. It really like visually, image wise, evidentially was very lackluster. It didn't, you know, there was a lot of hyperbole and gesticulation and whatnot. I mean, it was, you know, very suspenseful. Recently, I saw that team that is currently owning and operating and monitoring the energies from imagery to videographic imagery, which is like 24/7, 365 on Skinwalker Ranch. They, within the last few months, they sent up multiple high dollar, high tech drones that were FAA approved over Skinwalker Ranch, northern Utah. And also, at the same time, in conjunction with the technology that they were using with these high-tech drones, cordoned with satellite imagery and satellite monitoring of that property, they came up with these really random, abstract structures of energy that were picked up by the waypoint markings. They were basically mapping out the property, and what out at the very end were these huge, like almost like crystalline. You know, like we've all seen, or maybe some of us have done the science experiment where you grow your own rock candy, or you grow your own crystals. You know, the old science kit you could get like Toys R Us or whatever, and you can, you know how like certain crystalline structures grow in like kind of a weird like what's the word, like a stone stump structure of a tree without the branches, and it kind of has this disjointed growth structure like laterally on the XY axis, but it's always growing vertically. And at the very end of this you know, very modern human modern data collection mission that they did, they came up with this like real random looking structure that nothing video caught, but the waypoint, every time they marked a waypoint from the satellite positioning of relaying from the drones to the satellite back down to the ground, and they saw
Hey, Jay,
like
buddy, can I ask you a question? You want to get to your question because you're reviewing the season for us, and you're kind of spoiling.
Wondering is like I thought you had I saw a tweet that you had put out a while back, and I wanted to ask, but maybe you can't answer. But it seems like there's some kind of a portal that is like there every day, all day on that property, and I'm wondering if you know anything about it. That's what I am.
Well, okay, here. So you're kind of right. I just want to correct you. So I'm friendly with the guys at Blind Frog Ranch, Charlie Boy, Dwayne, and all them. I met some of the guys from Skinwalker. So I just that's probably what you were talking about. And I haven't seen the Charlie Boy he actually buried my patch into the portal of the Blind Frog. They talk about it all the time. So no, I understand what you're saying. I just wanted to correct that. Now I understand what you're asking. I posted a couple pictures of them in there too. Screen name. Go ahead, buddy.
And I don't mean to be so long-winded. Sometimes I do that. I worked 19 hours on set today. I'm sorry. But what I wanted to really get to, Shane, is that if you bring them on, if they're on Twitter and you're affiliated with them, and you could bring them on just for like, you know, a small you know, a small space and to conversate about that particular technological venture that they took. The results they got were absolutely indefinable and bizarre and very uncanny. And I would really like to hear more about the data waypoints that built up vertically, and this thing seemed to go up about a mile or so above Skinwalker Ranch, and it's really weird to me to see that between the drones and the satellite data that they were creating, it wasn't even artificial intelligence. It was just a satellite remarking on data from the drones shooting lasers at the ground, reading the topography, sending it back up to and the satellites were sending this data back to computers that built this like vertical column of like chaotic looking coral kind of looking structure above almost the center of Skinwalker Ranch. And like, pardon my.
So your question is, you want to see if we can get them on. You're cutting out too, buddy. You're cutting out really bad.
Yeah, my bad. Okay.
So it's not your fault that you're having trouble hearing the end of that. Go ahead, screen name.
Yeah, this is kind of what Jade is talking about with the signals bouncing and stuff. That goes back to again to what Patrick Jackson's talking about. And something else, they mapped the triangle, the area they called the triangle in Skinwalker. The same pattern that they mapped the spirals inside of it is exactly what we mapped in a black hole. You know, we finally mapped some of a black hole, so they're identical. Just wanted to throw that out there.
That same point. All right, so yeah, he and I are on the same.
Hold up, Jade. We gotta let other people talk, buddy. We'll get back to you. I promise. Put your hand up. Go ahead, Logan.
Oh yeah, what's the topic?
Skinwalker Ranch. Hey, you're an insider, bro. Get on that.
Oh, that's right, baby. I can't talk about it though because yeah, I know what he's talking about. He's talking about the last episode, or like one of the last episodes of season 3. It's when they had that mapping drone go all over the property, mapping it, taking like thousands of pictures, and like when they added all that shit together, there was this like weird anomaly like above the triangle where this supposed portal might be. Is that what you're talking about, Jade?
I can barely understand your mic. It sounds like but
hello, Jake.
Oh shit!
Logan, your microphone's bad. So
I just realized I'm using Bluetooth. Damn it.
You're okay. He was agreeing with you, Jake. That kind of hurt him. No, you're okay, Logan.
I heard a couple points there that I do.
I forgot how to Bluetooth on. My bad.
Yeah, Bluetooth is the death of it for space.
Yeah. You hear what I said, dude? About the so like there's like an anomaly over the triangle, right? That's what you're talking about? That the drone caught?
Not a triangle.
I mean, hey, hold up, guys. Logan, right now we're getting feedback on you every time you talk, or anybody else.
Like anomaly over the triangle.
Logan, you gotta. I think it's on your
Am I tripping?
Well, if the speaker is really close to the mic, it'll sometimes bounce back into the speaker, and that's what you hear. So you got to make sure it's not up against a wall or anything.
Yeah, we can understand if you get feedback.
It's because other people have their mics open. I think it's like buzzing out, echoing. Maybe is it better now? Because it seems like everyone has their mic off. Except Jake now.
Also, if you have a Bluetooth speaker going on while you're talking, it fucks this bad.
All right, stop it. Hold on. Everybody hold up for 1 sec. So you can't ask somebody a question in the middle of a conversation and expect them not to answer, and that's what I'm saying. We can hear you, buddy, but people keep interrupting you, and that feedback's what's interrupting you. So that's what I'm saying. So no one talk. Let him finish. Logan, say done, so they know.
Done.
Okay.
Bad, sorry.
No, that wasn't your bad. Everybody, when anybody talked, it was giving feedback. So it was every cycle. So I wanted you to be able to speak. You want to go ahead and go again, and let us know when you're done, so you know to speak.
It's okay, brother. I appreciate that.
No problem. Yeah, they were stepping on you. I just want to make sure you got that shit out. It wasn't unintentional. So go ahead, Jake.
Check. Okay, we're clear. Logan, I just wanted to ask you to repeat your original comment. There was a lot of feedback going on. It was like me talking like this. Like you can't make sense of it. Get what I'm saying, brother?
He was saying.
Someone else say it for me.
All right,
He
hold
was
up, guys.
saying.
Hold up. Everybody's gonna stop. I'm gonna die. All right, Jay, we just literally said all of that, brother. Where were you? And Logan was agreeing with you, Jade. So next time Logan speaks, what I'm saying is no one can talk when Logan talks. He'll tell us a question. We shouldn't be stepping on each other anyway. Let's try to keep our hands up because it is kind of shitty. Doesn't either way? Because some people headset may not be working. Doesn't matter. They should be able to access it. It's just the same. All right. So, does anybody do me one favor before we go on? Everybody think about a topic. It better be good. Just do me a favor, get in the thread and just like it, retweet it, whatever. We'll keep this going, I suppose. Bring people in. If you want to share story experiences, put them in there. Gifts, whatever. So, one thing, if we have a story, let's try to keep it clean. So these spaces are recorded, and the other thing is, let's try not to meander. Let's get to the point of the story, let's get to the meat, because lots of people usually want to talk or they want to converse on your story, but people like me and Kent lose those topics pretty quickly when they keep going. So, Chase, go ahead, and then I'll let Jade.
Yeah, I can't keep track of items for very long as well. So the quicker the stories, probably the better.
Good point, and we'll keep it on that. So, guys, don't take offense if I kind of say, hey, can you kind of wrap it up? It's just so quicker story, the more we can actually, the whole point of this is like a town hall, so we can just back and forth and talk about the subject. But when we tell stories that are that long, we lose lots of questions. So keep that in mind, brother.
All right. Yeah, I'm that guy that shows up to the town hall meeting after smoking a couple bowls of hash. Like, I'll go on. Like, I have a lot to say. I want to switch the subject. This is something that I've been thinking about for many years now. Maybe 17, 21, I don't know, like quite a while. And I'm just going to put this out there. It's a personal theory, but when you see all these erratic behaviors of these supposedly intelligently piloted, unidentifiable things, I believe, like, if we had jets that could maneuver like that, like, we would have no pilots. They would be splattered to pieces inside the cockpit of the jet, and they would just crash. Like, there's no way a human being can handle those kind of maneuvers at those kind of speeds or altitudes without destroying the pilot. Now, there's a reactor, supposedly, according to that guy. We know a lot of people don't like that name, so I'm not going to drop it. But I believe an organic mixture, mind melding with an organic, not a computational or arithmetical motherboard at the the heart of the computational operating system, so to speak, that we know of. I'm pretty sure everybody here knows how to build their own freaking computer.
I think hold on, Jake. Kent's got something to say to you on that. Let him say.
Wait. No, Kent's my mate. He can wait. He's cool. I'm gonna be real quick. I think.
Okay, well, you're starting to meander, buddy. Get to it.
I'm not meandering. What I'm saying is, I believe that they are very well advanced, and they have a biological, like almost like how bioluminescence works with fireflies and whatnot. These are creatures or fish that we see that glow at depth. I believe they have some kind of a biological, organic, psychic connection with these crafts, and it's a part of their body. Kind of like you see like our Olympic athletes with their hockey sticks or their snowboards or skis or on and on. You get what I'm saying. What's up, Kent?
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, to both of Jade's points, the one I call the canoe that I saw go over the farm here in DDU, I thought was organic. It glowed almost like a bioluminescence. It was a yellowish glow, but it had like a border around the outside, the one that was darker, and it pulsated. But the one I saw in France was definitely a triangle. It had a light on each corner. And me and another guy, a colleague that I was standing with having a smoke outside the office, saw it as well. And it zigzagged in front of us, and I lost it going in front of the sun. But even at the point where it crossed the sun, I could still make out the shape and those lights. That seemed more technical. Yeah, I mean, there seem to be some that are technical, and there seem to be some that are, for want of a better word, organic. But that organic one made a U shape. It made a turn to its right, 90 degrees, perfect, but a curve. And it didn't shift sideways. It actually turned, and then it turned again a couple of seconds later, and a couple of seconds later again, and then a couple of seconds later again, and went back to its original course. That's the most profound one I've ever seen, and the one that I thought, oh, well, you can explain that, and it was going very slow. It wasn't going fast, eh?
Was it like a horseshoe shape almost?
No. This thing, I mean, literally, if you were underneath a canoe, looking up from under the river, and you could see the seam down the center of the canoe, like an Indian canoe, and an outside border and an outside border, and it was about 1 centimeter size at arm's length. So it was quite big, and only would have been less than 300 or 400 meters above me.
Okay, I'm gonna send you another photo, Ken, here in a bit. But thank you for that.
That's honestly the best description I can give of it, mate. And one that I saw in France definitely seemed metallic. It definitely seemed like it had a light on each corner. And I said, the guy standing next to me, his name was Frederick. And I said to him, did you see what I saw? He said to me exactly the same thing I saw. And both of us thought it was technical. And he was an engineer as well. So, I mean, he had an engineering background as well.
So, hey, Kent, I'm just putting something in the thread, and I just added you. Check it out, man. You literally just described one of the things that I see and record all the time. Looks like organic. Just take a look at the video. I just put it in the thread.
Is that your video, Shane?
Yeah, we'll do straight away. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Awesome.
my video. Yeah, you guys
Awesome.
check it out. It looks like I always like jellyfish. What it reminds me of, a big old jellyfish, and it literally, and that's a clip, right? I got 10 minutes of it. People want to say, oh, it's a bag, it's this or whatever. Dude, I watched it. First off, I saw it. Here's some context for this thing. I saw it way up in the air, right? And I videoed it, and then next thing I know, about 4 minutes later, it's hovering 500 feet up, hovering. So I go and get my camera, and I start recording it, and that's when I start. This is what I'm showing you, the start of it. I've got it all the way till it flies out of sight, miles away, right? Just slowly, but
yeah,
in a direction. It never meandered anywhere else, right? I got that word in my head now, meander. But yeah, check that out.
Yeah.
Man. You literally sound like you described it.
Just to mention, I just looked at it as well, and the only difference I would say between what you saw and what it's similar shape, it appears to be revolving. Mine was traveling in a straight line, and it seemed more white, but that might be the camera. Mine was more yellowish glow.
Right on. Yeah, I don't see. It was hard for me to tell at the time because I was like, "What is going on?" Because that's the second time I saw it. First time I recorded the very first time I saw it, I was leaving the mountains and it was going across the mountain. What the fuck?
You get a lot of descriptions that describe. One of the things I think the DoD is missing when they're back engineering this stuff is the intuitive, conscious part. I think whatever these mechanical objects are, even the way Lazar describes the inside, I think it links to the being's intuition or their consciousness, and it's a combination of their biological movements, but also their conscious movements that determine their trajectories and the way they can move so quickly.
Hey, mate.
Appreciate that. Hold on a second, Jade.
They have like
I'll let
this.
you go. Jade, 1 second, buddy. I'll let you go. Sorry for the cursing there a second ago when I kind of fell off there. Actually, I saw something. That's why I stopped. Kent. I'm glad you picked up for me. Go ahead, Jade.
You're good, man. We love you, bro. You're an awesome host. Mate, Kent, we were talking about this 2 weeks ago with Sam, and so I'm working on a film called well, it's not a film, it's a series now. It was supposed to be a film called Outer Range with Josh Brolin. Guys can check it out on Amazon Video. It's pretty crazy. It deals with interdimensional travel and a ranch owner and family rivalries.
I've seen it. It's cool as hell.
Oh yeah, I'm one of the assistant director's photography on that.
Oh, damn, bro. That's awesome.
So
That's cool,
yeah,
mate. Well done.
yeah, thanks, man. So like a couple weeks ago, I was talking, and Kent was there. Kent's my mate. He's like my brother, man. I love this guy. So we were sitting on, we had a walking lunch because we had this really shitty director that didn't really, I mean, he's not shitty. I take that back. He's just kind of, he's been thrown to the wolves. We work for Plan B, which is Brad Pitt's production company, and that's also coupled with a couple other names I'm not going to drop. But so we're in northern New Mexico, near Mora, New Mexico, on this property that's owned by a Texan guy. It's like 6 acres. And a walking lunch means that basically you've been on for more than 12 hours. You know, you're probably making about $80 an hour. And you don't get to get on the van and go down to base camp and sit down in the box truck after you get your meal, whatever you want, and sit there for half an hour, 45 minutes, and then go back to set. Walking lunch means you fill out the little piece of paper with the golf pencil and you tell them what you want from the menu, and then you keep working, and then they bring you food, and then you get to eat this ice cold meal in the middle of the mountains. So 2.5 weeks ago, we're doing a walking lunch, and we're sitting on the back of the grip truck with, you know, the high lift. You know, it's like ass level, so we can sit on it and comfortably eat our meal real quick. And, you know, we have our CIA looking curly cute, clear tube ear listening to everybody on our team to call us in case we need to bring something to set during cut. And I'm looking up the sky, which I always am. That's why I'm here. And I see this thing moving real slowly, but it's really super bright. And I told my buddy next to me, I'm like, hey, you see that? And he's like, see what? There's a million of them. I'm like, okay, smart ass. You see the one moving really slowly, like north to south? He's like, oh, yeah. And then as soon as he noticed it, the thing stopped. And I'm like, dude, I'm going to try and get a photo. And then the thing just like went blank, like it was gone. So last night, we're sitting out at the same exact shoot, the same exact location, and we had just gotten back from dinner. It was about probably 12:45, and we see, like, at first I'm like, you know, I'm doing my job and I'm bringing batteries to the DP because it was kind of cold last night in northern New Mexico. And I'm like, okay, you know what? You want batteries? I'm going to bring you every fucking battery we have because I'm tired of running through this trail with this cart. And it's a rocky trail through this private property in the mountains and the forest. And it's not easy. And I'm a strong guy, but it's like, you know, fuck this. Like, I'm just taking you every battery. I'm going to supply the director of photography with enough battery power for like 4 days. And they were laughing at me like, you should have got a grip to do that. I'm like, you know what? I was a grip. Here you go. Here's your power. Pardon me. So I turn around with my dolly, my hand truck, you know, and, you know, okay, I'm going to go smoke a fucking joint and a bowl, or smoke a bowl and then a cigarette, and then I'm going to go talk to my cousin who's a Teamster driver. And, you know, I'm thinking, okay, they don't need me anymore tonight. I'm making big money for the next like 4 or 5 hours, and I don't have to do anything anymore because my job is to bring the DP batteries. And I look up and I see this thing, and it looked like, it looked like a red light bulb, and it looked like a supernova, like expanding outward, and then it shrunk, and then it was gone. And then I look down at what I'm holding, because I still have some expensive lenses on the dolly. Like they're like, thanks for the batteries, take these lenses back to the box and fuck off for the night out until we're done, and then you can go back to your hotel room. So I'm like really happy because I know, I don't have to do anything else for the night. I've been on for hours and hours and hours. And I look down and I see this like flash towards where the truck that I'm heading to is through the forest. So I'm like, what the fuck? Like, did somebody like start a fire scene or something? That was my initial thought. Like, somebody just started a fire. Like, we are not allowed to have fires on set. So what the fuck's going on? So I start running and then I stop and I get to the edge of where all the equipment is. And I have photos of this. If you want, I can share one. And there's this like circular it looks circular at first, and then it turned out to be like this line in the sky. And there's this thing that shot out to the west, and it disappeared like a flash of light, and it looked like daytime for like 8 or 9 seconds. I grabbed my phone and I took a shot of it, and the photo that I got from that second, it looks like there's a rainbow in the sky, and the sky looks like it's like 2 p.m. in the middle of the day, but it was like 3:45 in the morning, maybe something like that. I don't know exactly what time it was.